What is up? I am evacuated, Calvin and Hobby, here on Ask DLF. I am so excited to have a chance. I hate to tell you guys, I did not pack my live stream equipment when I evacuated from Hurricane Ida, but so my audio is going to be a little touch and go. My internet might be a little touch and go, but if it is, these guys will definitely be able to hold things down for us. I'm excited to have a chance to talk to everyone today. It's NFL Cut Day. There's so much to talk about, so much news. Tyler, we are obviously, welcome to the show. Glad to have you, obviously, as always. And we got a special guest we need to introduce to everybody. Why don't you do that?
You want me to introduce? No, Ryan, introduce yourself.
I was wondering. I was wondering what was going to get
yourself. You can do it.
I'm Ryan at RyanPros_FF. I write for the Dynasty Vipers with Cal, and I have a podcast with Matt and Spencer, who you all know. So I'm happy to be here talking football with these two smart guys. So I can't wait for the next however long we do this show for. Varying lengths, but I'm ready for whatever.
I'm excited to have you here, Ryan. Glad you're going to join us. And look, so for everybody that doesn't know, what we do right here on this show is we answer all of your questions. And look, whatever we need to do to make sure that it happens, we're going to get through every one of the questions. I'm going to be here for about an hour and a half, and then I am going to be kicked out of this building that I am currently in because it closes. But these guys are going to be able to take things from there for sure. If you are looking at your screen on YouTube or Periscope, wherever you're watching this, you can use the live chat function, ask any questions you want. If you have anything specific today that somebody that got cut, a dynasty trade that got offered to you, somebody on waivers you're thinking about, somebody who you have on your roster you're not sure if you can cut, those are the kind of questions we're here to answer today. We basically do whatever you ask us to do on this show. We're excited to do it, excited to talk some football. And before we get into questions, Tyler, preseason's over. The next football that we get is regular season. Are you pumped or what?
Well, I've been waiting for football. We all want football, right? I mean, that's what we want. So, yeah, I'd say so, right? I mean, shouldn't I be?
Absolutely, you should. Ryan, you pumped?
I mean, I get to watch the Cowboys lose in the opener. I can't root for that, right? I got to root for that. Can't wait.
Let's go. Let's start. We got a comment in here right off the bat. Where does Wayne Gallman land? Worth holding on to. Could he have a quicker path to touches somewhere other than San Fran? Tyler, go ahead and talk about that. I'm going to fix our background here.
Okay. I mean, sure, you could hold on to him if you want. He's a running back. You don't have to. If you're tight for roster spots, if your dynasty league is cutting down, feel free to let him go. I'm not obsessing over him, honestly.
Brian, what do you think?
I definitely agree with that one. Deep sleeper. I know he was, hyped up in San Fran a little bit because, Kyle Shanahan likes, use whatever running back, but I agree with Tyler. You could just let him go. Nothing of significance.
He had moments where he was effective and useful for your Giants last year, Tyler. But in Dynasty, this is the kind of guy, this is even below roster clogger level, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. We may have to adjust this background. Sorry. If everybody will please excuse technical difficulties, doing this from a lobby, from a conference room out in Florida. I will work on that while these smart gentlemen answer the next question from AJ1990. Thoughts on Rondale Moore's outlook this year and in the future? Just acquired Moore plus 2022 second for Mike Davis and a 2023 third. It was a pretty good deal.
I don't get it. Rondale Moore is worth way more than Mike Davis. I don't understand. Why would you add? I don't know. I guess people make bad trades all the time. I love Rondale Moore's outlook. I think he's going to be their second weapon behind DeAndre Hopkins in the passing game. They used him in preseason, kind of like how I want to see. They were getting him involved in the short area targets. Great. I mean, you killed this deal. Congratulations. Do whatever you want to do. Do a parade or a dance or whatever.
Go pat in the back.
Is it time for a victory lap right here, Ryan?
I mean, I think it might be a little early, but I don't like victory laps. But this is a fantastic trade because who does Rondale Moore have to beat out? Christian Kirk, AJ Green, who's 33, 32 at this point. So I like it.
AJ Busted and Christian Boring. That's who he has to beat up.
Trogdor in the chat. Great timing for the cut down day. It absolutely is. This could not have worked out more perfectly for us. And in fact, this show is going to be continuing on for the rest of the offseason, assuming that power eventually comes back to my house. We'll see. We'll work on that. But as long as I have power, as long as I have internet, we're going to keep doing this on Tuesday nights. Tyler will definitely be here one way or another, whether I am or not, to answer all of your questions every Tuesday. And think about it. Tuesday nights, that's waiver wire day. There's a lot of questions, a lot of things. And look, obviously we focus on Dynasty to a degree. But as I heard recently, I want to say it was Andrew Hall, somebody that I was listening to, talked about every Dynasty league in a lot of ways becomes a redraft league once the season starts. So we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. Let's go to Todd's question. Who will be Baltimore's RB2? Tyson Williams or Justice Hill? And will he be dependable flex bye-week level play?
I mean, it's Tyson Williams, but it doesn't mean I want him. I don't know.
Who would you rather roster right now?
Tyson Williams.
Okay.
Because not Justice
You agree, Ryan?
I agree. It's a mystery box. We know what Justice Hill is, so.
They're going to sign someone.
Something in me still feels like Justice Hill, you know, if anybody's going to break out and be useful, I feel like it's more likely to be Justice Hill.
I don't think so.
History would not be an indication of that, but
no, it wouldn't.
But he at least has done something like college level that was significant that we can look back on and say, like, maybe there's something there.
Oh, but that was like 3 years ago. I mean,
nobody's ever heard of Tyson Williams. Nobody even knows who.
No, I literally, someone asked me, "Oh, do I pick up Tyson Williams?" Like whenever this happened, and I was like,
"Who?" Exactly.
I've never heard of this player. So, you know, I did some research, but it's very clear. I mean, according to their writers, Tyson Williams is their running back too. So I, would take that for what it's worth. Just like the Rams, I don't buy it. I don't buy that they're really happy with this. Nobody notable running back wise got cut, really. Thought there was a chance Latavius Murray could get cut and end up here, but he didn't. He made the Saints. They did cut Devonta Freeman, but if Devonta Freeman couldn't make the team over to Latavius Murray, I don't know. And then who else is there really out there? Bell, Gurley. That's it. Duke Johnson.
Yeah, which, obviously none of those guys at this point have got a job. There's no NFL that they've done at all. Like, there's not at this point, I almost feel like the roster is set. Other than maybe, you'll get maybe Jared Dokes ends up somewhere on a practice squad. Maybe Javian Hawkins makes a practice squad. But none of those guys at this point, if they didn't make the team, it's not a good sign for their future value.
Yeah, I mean, if Dokes couldn't make the team over Malcolm Brown or at all, it's not good. I don't know. They're going to have to add somebody, though. They're not going to go forward with how much they run the ball with just those three. And those are the only three who made the team.
Absolutely. Brett in here. Glad you're here, Cal. You're doing well.
Brett.
Yeah. Thank you, Brett. I appreciate you tuning in. 100% fine. I was telling Ryan and Tyler, basically, it feels like we're on vacation right now. We evacuated. There's some realities we got to go home to at some point, but we'll get there. Hopefully by this weekend, we'll have a chance to get back and see our house and all that stuff. So PJ in the house. What's up, PJ? And what's up, Ryan? Glad you made it, Cal. It was a pleasure, Tyler. Ryan with a shout out. What's up, Ryan? Let's tell everybody a little bit more about yourself. Like, how long have you been playing fantasy football?
Well, I've been playing for about 4 or so years. I remember staying in the chat here with the SF mix up. So I've been learning slowly along the way. So, but yeah, about 4 or 5 years.
Would you like to talk about your Scott Fishbowl team?
I knew that was going to come up here one way or another.
Lions Den.
Oh man, I should have expected this one at the start. Well, I mean, Kyle Pitts and Travis Kelce will hopefully lead me to victory. I know how Tyler doesn't like how I crossed out the advantage of having a top tier tight end, and then Joe Burrow, with the accuracy issues. But I had Travis Etienne on the roster too, so it's It's yeah. I took a hit. But yeah, I'm hoping to get lucky with the Scott Fishball roster. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. So PJ, Dolphins like Brown more than Dokes. What the heck? Look, this is something that continues to happen. And look, I'm not like I see the same things that you guys see, and it looks to me like, yeah, gosh, Dokes. Why would you not rather have him than Malcolm Brown? Coaches just continue to love Malcolm Brown. There's certain things about certain players that I just think there's something that maybe they offer it in the locker room. Maybe they offer it in a way that we don't fully understand as analysts. But there are certain players like Malcolm Brown that just stick around because they do something that coaches love. And I don't know if it's work ethic. I don't know if there's just certain things in leadership or whatever it is. But Malcolm Brown's one of those guys. And yeah, Dolphins chose to keep him around rather than Dokes. We'll see if he ends up in the practice squad. That's kind of my guess.
You think anyone's going to claim Dokes? Probably not, right? I mean,
I don't know why they would.
It wasn't any good.
I didn't see anything, I mean, maybe you guys can tell me if you saw something different. I didn't see anything from him that I thought was worth a claim.
I don't think he gets claimed.
No.
What about Wayne Gallman to Atlanta? I think we keep wanting somebody to go to Atlanta, and it just never happens. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think if they were interested in that, they had every opportunity to do that a long time ago. They had other opportunities. I mean, many opportunities to sign a veteran. I'm not sure that Gallman is going to be the player that changes their mind. No, they're happy with Mike Davis as their starter, Allison as the backup. They have, Cordero Patterson maybe in a gadget role. They could sign someone else, but clearly it's not a priority for them.
Clearly isn't. We've been waiting since Javonte Williams when they were on the clock, and nothing's happened since. So
yeah, absolutely. Mike Davis just seems like as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a thing. Like we were all very skeptical. Tyler, what would Mike Davis have to do, I guess, to earn some trust from fantasy owners that we feel comfortable with him as like an RB2?
He can't. He's 1 week away from losing the job at any time because he's old. Old running backs don't have any security ever. So nothing. There's nothing he can do. I'll never be confident in him long term. So it's a week to week thing with him. I mean, that's what it's going to be.
If you're one of those managers that had a really competitive team and just have been struck by these running back injuries, is he a guy that you can maybe get for cheap? And if so, what would you offer? Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, I guess so, because who went down this past week? Dobbins, Akers, and then Etienne's down. So I would go after Mike Davis as, a cheap option. I don't know what I give for him because I personally don't have any contending rosters that I trade for him, but I think a second should be able to get it done pretty easy.
I mean,
I think if I've got him, I'm giving him up for that. But if I'm competitive, I mean, he's the kind of guy that he's going to get to work, man. I mean, that's kind of what you need on a competitive team. Tyler doesn't agree.
No,
Tyler hates Mike Davis.
He's old. So I'm not going to be doing that.
Adam says, happy Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. Actually, Tacor?
Don't even try. No. Don't even
Tarco. Tyler and Ryan and Tarako Tuesday. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Yeah, do all those things. Make sure you do all of those things that Adam says here. Yeah, this is on that deal earlier. Obviously, you crushed it. And then Ryan, or Tyler, let me start with you on this one. Do you think Rondale Moore will be good this season, 2021?
What is good? I mean, in redraft, I rank him wide receiver 56, so not really. But that's dynasty, right? I mean, what do you want? Look, Laviska Shenault was not, you didn't play him in fantasy last year, right? I mean, you didn't start him. He wasn't someone you put in your lineup, right? But he gained significant value from what he did on the field last year, right? He's worth a lot more now than he was last year. So, when it comes to what good means, I think he'll be good enough to raise his value, at least from where it is now, because I have it higher. And then, progress forward. But a fantasy viable, probably not.
that fair, Ryan?
Yeah, I totally agree with that answer. Crush that one.
Man, I really like him. I think it depends on maybe on the health of AJ Green a little bit. But also, it's going to throw the ball a lot. He could end up with 120 targets, maybe 100 opportunities between receptions and rushes.
Maybe. I just think it's going to take a while. I think it's going to take a while before you see consistent production. I think you're going to see the talent. I think he's going to make a difference for the Cardinals from week 1. As I've said many times, I think he's going to make a difference for the Cardinals week 1. Will you want to start him in your fantasy lineup week 1? I'm probably going to say no. I think it's going to be a while. Maybe you'll be able to start him as a spot starter, and he'll be like a second half of the season player, but I just don't see him providing you consistent, trustable fantasy value as even a wide receiver 3 or a desperation wide receiver 4 in the early half of the season. I do think it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's not how dynasty value works. Dynasty value is based on the talent. It's based on what he shows on the field, based on the flashes. And I saw enough flashes in preseason that I'm hyper confident that Rondale Moore will have a successful NFL career. And if that's how I feel, then I want him on my dynasty team because of his youth, college profile, draft pedigree, and the quarterback offense that he finds himself in. I mean, he has everything going for him. So I want that guy on my team.
Yep. I do too. And I like you said, maybe a little bit inconsistent, but I can see him having some weeks that we get really excited.
Well, how many rookies are consistent, right? I mean, how many rookies provide consistent fantasy production in wide receiver position? How many did it last year, really? Justin Jefferson, and that was it, right? I mean, CeeDee Lamb was usable mostly at times as more of a wide receiver.
Higgins was up until Burrow got hurt, really.
Yeah, Higgins had like 7 weeks where he was usable, but he was good. Other than that, I mean, Chenault gained value without really producing any fantasy numbers. Darnell Mooney gained a lot of value. You didn't really start Darnell Mooney in your lineups, though. So it's kind of the same thing. It's, like I said, what they need to do to gain value and what they need to do to be started in your fantasy lineup are not the same thing. So just something to keep in mind. But I do love Rondale Moore. I think the people who've watched the show or anyone who follows me on Twitter or just anyone who's talked to me knows that I love Rondale Moore. They know that I've been in on Rondale Moore from the beginning and that I've been excited to see Rondale Moore in a regular season game, which we're going to get to see very soon.
Tyler, Kirk and Green are?
Okay. Kirk is a failure. Green is not a failure. I mean, Green has a borderline Hall of Fame career. He's just washed. Green is just washed, right? I mean, he's old and washed. AJ Green, do you think AJ Green is going to go to the Hall of Fame? I mean, I think he might. AJ Green was excellent for 8 years. I mean, that's hard to do, right? So, no, AJ Green is not.
All respect for AJ Green. I don't think he makes Hall of Fame, but all respect
right
for him.
He's right on that line. He's right on the line. He's certainly talented enough, but no, he's not. His career is not a failure. If you picked AJ Green in the first round, you'd be happy. But yeah, Christian Kirk is a roster clogger. Just forget him.
Look, anybody in the chat, anybody that's watching this, just raise your hand if you're surprised that Henry's in a draft right now. Henry has 150
Oh yeah, does Ryan
leagues.
know about Henry? Henry,
Yep.
Okay, you do. Yeah, Henry is a legend. He's probably going to say no. I'm not a legend, but he is. He plays like the most number of leagues and has like some of the most amount of like money won of anybody. So he does have that going for him, and but believe me, that's certainly not me. So I spend most of my time on content. I admire the people who grind.
Let's have the Gus Edwards conversation here. Right. Craig Schumacher asked, what would y'all spend in draft capital to acquire Gus Edwards? Obviously, we lost J.K. Dobbins. Really sad to see him go. Obviously, Gus Edwards has the role now with Tyson Williams. It seems like maybe they add somebody, but I don't know that anybody that they add is going to be a difference maker.
Can we do the rankings game instead? Sure. Because I think with what to acquire Gus Edwards, I think that the answer to this question, and I assume that you both would agree, is that you're probably not paying a first, but you'd probably take him for a second. And I think we agree with that. I think he's going to be a tough player. I think he's going to be a tough player to acquire. I think more interesting is where he falls in the running back landscape. So like I can tell you where I have him, and then you guys tell me what you think about that. So
Okay.
I have him just above Mike Davis, who we talked about. I have him above Davis. A couple guys who are just ahead of him, Chase Edmonds and Ronald Jones are just ahead of Gus Edwards. So that's kind of where I have him. Now, it's not very high, I suspect, compared to others.
You have him above
Mike Davis. Maybe he's a little bit low in overall spots, but I definitely would rather have him over Mike Davis, Tony Pollard, those guys, Leonard Fournette.
Okay.
I'd rather have him over those guys. But I would prefer to have guys like Darrell Henderson, A.J. Dillon, Chase Edmonds, Ronald Jones, who I just think are better. Those players are better than him, over him. So I don't know. What does that sound about right? Or I re-ranked him, obviously, after the injury.
I mean,
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
I mean, I think I'd swap him with Edmonds, but that's about it. I think that's probably where I'd have him. I'm just not a big Chase Edmonds guy. So
I can see that. I'm not a big Chase Edmonds.
Everyone else is, I agree with. I'd rather have those guys.
We were already taking. I mean, like for somebody who was a quote unquote RB2, we were already taking him pretty high. So we already thought, even with a guy that we were taking, that we expected to be a high end RB2, maybe low end RB1 for us, we were already taking him, expecting some kind of production. Is your thought for not moving him up very high, Tyler, that he's not going to have much more of a role than he had before?
Well, I think a lot of where you're going to value him depends on where you rank him. I rank him for the year at RB24, which is not that high. So, that's not that high. So if I rank him for the year at RB24, my ranking is not surprising if you think about it long term. J.K. Dobbins is not Cam Akers. That's something that I think that people have to realize. J.K. Dobbins just tore his ACL. J.K. Dobbins, yes, there was additional damage to the LCL, but you saw, players, that is not a career ender. The worst case scenario is you have something like what Cortland Sutton and Saquon Barkley have been going through, where there's a little bit of a delay in coming back, but they come back. It's not like the Liz Frank that ETN has. That could be a career ender. And then there's also the Achilles that Akers has. He'll probably come back, but there's a chance he's just literally a completely different player. He's just not the same guy. In this case, probably the worst case scenario is that J.K. Dobbins comes back to be 85% of J.K. Dobbins. That's probably about the worst case reasonable scenario. And 85% of J.K. Dobbins is better than Gus Edwards. It is. And Gus Edwards is locked on this team. He has, what is it? I think it's like 7 receptions in his career. Something like that.
It's not quite that extreme. He had 9 last year.
It might be. Yeah, no. Oh, last year was better. Last year he had 9 receptions on the whole season. 18 receptions in 43 games played. So that's not good. So that caps his upside immensely. I rank him at RB24. I think it is, it is what it is. And that means in Dynasty, if I only rank him RB24 for the year, I'm not that interested. I just think Rojo is as much as I don't like Rojo's a better player than Gus Edwards to me.
Okay. I don't know if this is going to be blasphemous. You might even say I'm besmirching Rojo's name in this. I don't know the difference between Gus Edwards and Rojo right now. I don't know why somebody would like Rojo better. Rojo's got more competition for carries, a much more proven pass catcher out of the backfield than anybody Gus Edwards is having to deal with. Now, you could say you expect Tom Brady to check the ball down more, but that's not what Rojo does, right?
You're talking redraft, though. If
I've done a redraft.
Right. So I have Rojo ranked way lower in redraft. In Dynasty, I go back to Rojo, though, because he's about 2.5 years younger than Gus. So,
sure.
That's why I have Rojo higher in Dynasty. Chase Edmonds, similar thing. He's below Gus in redraft, but higher in Dynasty. I actually think Chase Edmonds is one of those players that has a lot of years left in his career being not so great, but years remaining. Whereas Gus Edwards was nothing when Dobbins was there, and I think he'll go back to being nothing after this year. He was RB4. So I don't think this is James Robinson. who James Robinson, I think, is perfectly capable of being a viable RB2 on most teams, but he got stuck in the situation with Travis Etienne. Gus Edwards, I think this is now the best case scenario possible. I only have him RB24 for 2021. So just not that in on him. I'm just not giving up players I like. The other thing is, without the pass catching ceiling, and Lamar there, the ceiling is lower. If I'm wrong about Darrell Henderson, let's say I'm wrong about, I hate Darrell Henderson. We know that. But if I'm wrong about him, Darrell Henderson could be a top 10 running back. It's possible. It's very possible that Darrell Henderson is what Cam Akers was going to be. There's just no universe in which Gus Edwards, who's going to catch 9 passes all year, is going to be top 10. That's literally not possible. So Mark Ingram did it. He was running back 11 with 5 receiving touchdowns. Gus Edwards is lucky if he has 5 receptions. So it's not going to happen.
Ryan, what do you think about Gus Edwards?
I might be on the same spot as Tyler. I mean, what was he before? It was a consistent 114 attempts around that range, 700 yards rushing. That's what he's done for the first 3 years of his career. He's a good player, but the 9 receptions are just
the receptions.
Can't do it for me.
Kill it.
And it's not like
for me.
It's not like they're going to go up either. So
no, I don't think they are. I don't think they are because Lamar doesn't check down anyway. So he didn't even check down to J.K. Dobbins, who's a plus receiver. And Dobbins is a plus receiver in the passing game, but Gus is terrible. So I don't think he's going to check down to a terrible receiver when he could just run it himself.
Interesting. I guess I'm pro Gus Edwards, but very like I guess my dynasty thoughts on him would be more in line with what you're saying. I guess I'm a little bullish on him for this year. We weren't really expecting a ton of receiving production anyway, because whoever's running there is attached to Lamar. I'd just be curious to see if they give him more of a workload. That's the main thing. He expects it. We'll see if that actually.
That Gus is older than Zeke. Just to give you an idea of Gus's age. So you're talking about an older player.
Yeah, but I'm like I said, I'm more on your page for dynasty, but for redraft, like for this season, like I don't. If he had a Mark Ingram type year, I don't know that I would be super.
Well, I've ranked. You want to hear the tier he comes in redraft? It's a lot of these kind of players. There's Myles Gaskin. This is kind of interesting. Mike Davis is in there. Another player where I'm a little shaky. Javonte Williams is kind of the one who doesn't belong in this tier because he's a different type of thing. And then there's Gus Edwards, Damian Harris, and Darrell Henderson right after. So it's really Gaskin, Davis, Edwards, Harris, and Henderson are all a very similar bet. Players that I, outside of Harris, don't really believe in, who have all of them have pass catching issues except for Gaskin, and all of them could at any minute lose the job. It could be, oh, nope, Gus isn't very good. He's not going to be a starter next week. I think he's just as vulnerable to that as the other guys listed, as Davis, Gaskin, Harris to Stevenson, and Henderson to Michelle.
Brian, let's start with you on this next question. Are there any cuts that you can see landing anywhere else
we need a good
that
list.
we would potentially care about?
We need a list.
I mean, the first question that comes to mind is Cam Newton going to end up somewhere, and if where? I mean, I've seen Houston thrown out there. I've seen Washington thrown out there with Ron Rivera reuniting. I don't know. Those are the two main ones that I could see, but I don't know. I think Washington
is not going to happen.
Well, is that just because of the history between him and Rivera, you think?
Well, Rivera's had a zillion chances to sign him. A zillion chances. And
I also think they've got 2 quarterbacks better than him on their roster right now.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think Fitzpatrick is way better. And
I think Heineke's better.
I think so. Yeah, I do. I think I said many times earlier today that I think Cam is cooked. I think Cam, is maybe like the 45th best quarterback in the league right now. I wouldn't want him on my team. He didn't take the vaccine. And we saw what's going on with the Colts right now. Carson Wentz, is he practicing? Is he there? Is he rehabbing? Remember, he's injured. not rehabbing. So he's not rehabbing. He's not getting ready for week one. And this could, what if this had happened? We think in terms of practically for our dynasty teams, fantasy teams, what if this had happened during the season? You could go through the whole week. Are you going to have Carson Wentz this week? Or are you not going to have Carson Wentz? So, and then the NFL team would be the same thing. Are we going to have Cam? Could there be a problem with the other quarterbacks now? Is there another issue? So nobody's going to sign him. He's an unvaccinated, washed backup quarterback. He's done. Cam is done. I think he's done. Personally, I really do. I think he's done. I think he will never be on another NFL team again. And that's my opinion on Cam.
Yeah, I'm looking through here. It looks like you mentioned Carson Wentz there, so that got me just looking at you want to own whoever the quarterback is that is going to win this QB2 job. I was looking to see if either of them got released. They did not. So they're still hurt.
Ellinger's hurt, so Eason won the job.
Okay, so it's Eason. So in a Superflex league, you need to own Eason. I think
Eason is really bad.
But I mean, like in a Superflex league, any quarterback that could be viable, you want to own.
No, I agree, but for the record, he is really bad.
Could he be better than Wentz?
No. He is.
I don't know about 8 wins.
Eason is a new level. As whatever Carson failure is, Eason is a new level of bad.
Okay. The same situation is going on in Minnesota, right? I mean, like we need to understand Kellen Mond needs to be owned Superflex. I think he is in most.
There's a little problem with that because Kellen Mond was the one who caused the whole COVID situation in the first place. Okay. So that he may not have. It doesn't seem like he took the vaccine either. So that could be. You want to talk about an issue? What do you do if you have like Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson? You probably start anyway, but you have Adam Thielen, and then oops, the Vikings don't have any quarterbacks this week. You see that there could be these are things I'm telling dynasty managers. You must prepare. You have. I know. Was it fun last season to deal with any of this stuff? No. I'm going to have, and, I don't think I've really announced this on the air, but I am going to do at differing times, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do some start sit episodes of this on this channel. And that's it. I'm going to do that. So this is something, we're not going to cover it as much on this show. We're going to cover more. We're going to stick to doing really waivers in the season. Waivers is big because we do it on Tuesday. That's why we chose Tuesday. And then we're going to do trades. We're going to do waivers. We're going to do trades. Start sit. We're going to leave for that solo show that I'm going to do. And DLF_Jeff as well. He does a start sit thread on our website, which I suggest everyone check out. I will also do start sit on Twitter. But with that said, I understand that I will be covering, as whether I like it or not, these vaccine situations, the close contact situations. This is just going to be something when you set your lineups that we're going to have to deal with this year. And it sucks, but it is what it is. And I will be here to guide you through that the best I can. And, hopefully it's a little bit better than last season, but obviously I can't make any promises. That's not up to me.
Yeah, I'm looking through here. It's tough. It's tough seeing anybody that was cut that could be fantasy relevant. I made a post earlier that I wish the Saints would grab Colin Johnson. I think if there's a wide receiver that they grab, do what?
I was stunned that he was cut.
Me too.
I was stunned.
If they end up grabbing a wide receiver, I guess we would care, right? Like because there seems to be a path, but I think at this point they seem pretty happy about who they have. They cut Chris Hogan, cut Kevin White, which obviously who cares?
They cut Kawan Baker too, 7th round rookie. They cut him.
Dez Fitzpatrick got cut too.
Yeah, that one. Remember we weren't live for that, but remember what I was saying in the Titans in the 2nd and 3rd round. Please, Tylan Wallace, please.
Yes.
And then Tylan Wallace, I believe, was available. Was he available? They were both in 4th round. I think Tylan Wallace was available when they picked Dez Fitzpatrick. And they not only picked Dez Fitzpatrick, they gave up 3 draft picks to trade for Dez Fitzpatrick.
I'm looking through this. It looks like that means that Racing McMath made the team, at least the initial 53.
Not quite. Racing McMath only made the team because he's on the COVID list.
No, okay.
So I don't. He was having a horrible camp. So I don't think Racing McMath is going to make the team.
It's the perfect name for Nashville, Tennessee.
Racing McMath.
Perfect.
Yeah, look, I mean, but it doesn't matter. I mean, they're going with Josh Reynolds as their clear 3, so whatever.
PJ's excited about Tyson season. Grab him ASAP. I guess. I couldn't tell you a single fact about Tyson Williams.
I don't know anything about him.
Do you know Tyson facts, Ryan?
No, I know he ran faster at his whatever it was, I don't know what BYU had, like a pro day or something. Then this 40 time listed on player profile, but that's about all I know. So
okay. Let's see. Yeah, Craig, I don't think Justice Hill fits the Ravens team. He might not fit any team, honestly, at this point. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
He's like a smaller back, right? I mean, he is, in theory, was supposed to be a good pass catcher, but that doesn't really, like the comment said, that doesn't really work on the team. So I just think that that's going to be a bust. They have to sign someone, right? They can't go forward with just this.
But who? Who is there?
I don't know. Gurley. I mean, Gurley is the best player left. I mean, really.
They had him in for a visit like 2 months ago and didn't sign him.
He must be totally busted.
Yeah. He's 27 years old. He's a year older than Gus Edwards.
No, I know. It's somehow still younger than Philip Lindsay, which is
insane.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what they do. They're a team. You got to watch what the Ravens are doing, and if they sign nobody, Tyson Williams is a must add.
Tyson Williams out of BYU, apparently, based on what I'm looking at here. Yeah, Ed agrees with Craig. Ed, if Hill had a QB that threw passes to running backs, he could maybe have something. Yeah, is he a prolific pass catcher? I mean, like, I know he beat out Carson.
Yeah, that was the idea, right? I mean,
the
idea was that he was going to be, I mean, he's a smaller guy, right? I mean, he's, let's say here, 5'10", 200. That's not big.
It's not big, but I mean, it's,
it's not like he was a great pass catcher in college, but somehow there was this idea that he was a smaller back and was going to transition, into a pass catcher. But I just kind of seems like he never really found a role anywhere. He's not good enough of a pass catcher to be one, and he's not big enough of a player to be a real runner in the Ravens offense. It just kind of seems like he got a little phased out. I liked him as a prospect coming in. Seems like it didn't work out for him. I don't know.
You know what he's a great example of? He's a great example that just being a freak athlete does not make you a good NFL football player.
Is he a freak athlete?
Yes.
He's
a 97th percentile 40-yard dash, 82nd percentile speed score, 95th percentile burst score.
It's pretty good.
He's a freak athlete.
Why didn't he work out then?
It just shows you, it's not all about athleticism. Like, you got to be a smart, good football player too.
It's supposed to show you that players with bad profiles like Larry Roundtree may have an opportunity.
No. Roundtree's nothing. Did he get cut? He should have gotten cut.
This has been such an exciting day for me.
Who got cut? Who got cut from LA?
None of them. They kept all four.
They kept all of them? Come on,
LA. None of them.
All right. How about Ryan? Let's start with you. Any thoughts on Tony Jones? Who I think might be a lounge singer in Las Vegas.
I was excited, but Latavius Murray making the team kind of downs the prospects a little bit, even though Latavius Murray looks cooked. So, it is what it is. End of the bench. Very end.
What do you think, Tyler?
Oh, I don't agree. I don't agree at all. I'd much rather have him than Justice Hill or Tyson Williams. I'd much rather have Tony Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I would have preferred that Latavius Murray get cut and Devonta Freeman make the team. There were some people who were saying that both Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman would get cut. I never believed that. I always thought it was one or the other. It was Murray versus Freeman for one spot, and Jones had a spot locked up. I would have rather that it had been Freeman with him, but it is Murray. Murray looked like garbage. I mean, he's the oldest running back currently in ADP. He's the only 31-year-old, I believe, to make the ADP data. Carlos Hyde may change that after the ETN injury. But Murray is the oldest running back. So I'm very interested in Tony Jones. We know that the Saints can support multiple fantasy relevant running backs. It's happened before.
He is a classic taxi stash. I think he's got to prove himself a little bit. I think there's, the reason why Latavius Murray is around is because Sean Payton trusts him. Turning things over to Tony Jones, such an unknown. Like, he's got to earn that trust, earn that spot.
Payton said that Tony Jones is his number 2 running back right now. That's what he said. So he said
that'd be great.
So that's what he said. So it's interesting. He said that, so he didn't have to say that. That's kind of what got me started on this whole thing. It's like, why say that? He certainly didn't have to. So it's just interesting that he would come out with something like that, because it's not giving him a competitive advantage to say that. What difference does it make? I mean, is anyone changing their game plan based on whether Tony Jones is the number 2 running back or Latavius Murray or Devon? Nobody cares.
Not yet. They will be. Not yet.
They don't care. I mean, look, Tony Jones is the worst running back profile I have ever seen. It is horrible. There's nothing good there. So I would be looking to he has one good game, and I would just look to get rid of him.
Roundtree is the worst still.
Those 2 are really bad.
PJ, I hope everything turns out good for you, Cal. It will, PJ. Either way, look, I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. It's going to work out. It's going to be fine. OMZH, will Saquon Barkley be ready for week 1? I think he's going to be comeback player of the year. What do you guys think?
He better be ready. I should hope so.
Giants seem very non-committal on this.
Their roster moves say otherwise. They didn't even keep Corey Clement. So they only kept Booker and Brightwell and Barkley. If Barkley wasn't going to be ready, they would have kept a 4th running back. So their moves say otherwise. Barkley's going to play week 1.
Could they bring back Gallman?
Well, then that would change things. I mean, if they re-sign Gallman, that would change my opinion. Then I would say that he's probably not going to be ready for week 1, because I don't think they need Gallman. Brightwell actually looked decent. 6th round pick this year to look decent in the preseason. And Booker, I mean, we know Booker was fine. I mean, he was a competent backup last year on the Raiders. So if Barkley is healthy, they don't need another running back. So if they sign someone like Gallman, that would be scary. That would be scary to me. That would make me think that he's not ready.
Ryan, I think the biggest hurdle that Barkley's going to have may not even be the injury. It might be that offensive line. But he's a freak. We know he's one of the best, most talented, best running backs we have in the league. Do you think he has enough in him to overcome the deficiencies there?
I definitely believe so. Look, coming out of Penn State, he was a generational talent. I got to watch him up close because I'm a PA resident, so it was fantastic. But I think he has all of that it takes. And I agree with Tyler. If they sign Wayne Gallman, then he's not going to be ready. But if they don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Devontae Booker got a good bit of money.
Good bit, yeah.
It was a decent bit of money. So they could use him until Saquon Barkley gets back. But I think it's wheels up for week 1.
No, he's going to play week 1. They took him off the PUP list. They wouldn't have taken him off the PUP list if he wasn't going to play. There would have to have been another injury between now and then, and I haven't heard anything about an additional injury.
Well, the PUP list just means they're sure he's not going to need to be out for 6 weeks.
Well, no. But once you take someone off the PUP, you can't put them back on. So if they weren't sure, they wouldn't have done that. They would have just left it. They could have left him on the PUP until today. But they took him off 2 weeks ago, which means that they were sure that he was going to play week 1.
Okay. I think it means that they're sure he was going to play within the first 6 weeks. It could mean that they're sure he's going to play the first.
They would have waited if it was really going to be that long. They was no rush. They didn't have to take him off the PUP list. They could have taken as much time as they needed. They cut Alfred Morris a few weeks ago. So the signs point that he's going to play week 1, but if something like Wayne Gallman's signing, then that would be a change. That would, that's got to update with new information. If new information comes, then a change in future perspective is necessary. I mean, that's a lot of that happened today with all of these cuts. There are a lot of them, some of which we haven't talked about, but it changes things.
PJ says, I love Malcolm Brown. I do not love Malcolm Brown. I just want to point out that coaches do. That's the thing, is like, I think we look at the highlights. We look at the, these things. I just don't think coaches are watching YouTube highlights deciding on how they're going to play these players. I think there's something about Malcolm Brown that, obviously, look at the actions, look at the moves. Malcolm Brown keeps finding a good job, and keeps finding work to be on the field and is a nuisance for fantasy. I just think he's going to continue to be that nuisance for fantasy until a coach acts like he doesn't like him anymore. That's just,
But you're not going to start him.
No, I don't want to own Malcolm Brown unless it's a really deep league and I'm just hoping I back into a bunch of carries there at the goal line.
Touchdown only league, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not pumping up Malcolm Brown's dynasty value here, guys. I'm just pointing out that he's going to get more work than we want. Like, we're going to be watching the TV a bunch of times like, why is Malcolm Brown in? It's going to happen a bunch this season.
I'm very curious to see, and this is something week 1, this is something I'm going to be watching for big time. I want to see money and games on the line. This is a game that counts, win or lose. I want to see how many snaps and carries these guys actually get. I want to see if when the game is on the line, is it 70% Gaskin, 60% Gaskin, or 50% Gaskin? What is it going to be? Because I need to know that. And how much Ahmed is it? Is it all the rest Ahmed with just a couple goal line carries for Brown? Or is it like 60% Gaskin, 20% Ahmed, 20% Brown? Like, I want to know these things. This is week 1. That's like, of all the things on my list, that's probably the thing I'm watching the most. That's the thing I want to know the most, because I really think that week 1 it's going to be enough. I'm going to know what their approach is from week 1. It's going to be obvious what they're doing. The preseason was inconclusive. They took different approaches in the games. So I need to see what they do when it counts for their record, what they do.
AJ says, hope for the best. Thank you, AJ. I really appreciate that. This is a good distraction. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who reached out to me, checking in on me the last couple of days. That was really, really nice. I love this community. St. Pat, I hope Tony Jones can maybe get a decent workload. I don't think as long as Alvin Kamara is healthy, anybody is going to get a decent workload in. I mean, like, we've seen some times where Latavius Murray was relevant, but it was when we knew that Alvin Kamara was a little bit hobbled. And then he got more work. But if he didn't score a touchdown, he really was still, and even in that, wasn't very useful.
I know we always say this, and no team ever does it, but do you think there's any possibility that with the Saints' lack of receiving weapons, I think it's fair to say lack. Now, Michael Thomas was placed on the PUP, by the way, so he'll miss the first 5 games. With the Saints' lack of receiving weapons, do you think there's any chance that they deploy Alvin Kamara in some more creative roles and then use a running back in the running back spot sometimes? Or no team ever does this. We always say, oh, I would like if. I think the Jaguars might have done that. But we'll never know. But, we always say we want teams to do this. Do you think there's any possibility of that? Or does that still seem unlikely?
What do you think, Ryan?
I think it still seems unlikely. I mean, Latavius Murray could get like 10 attempts in a game or something like that, but that's about it. That's a ceiling. I don't think so.
Alvin Kamara has been getting 80+ catches a year. I don't expect that to go way up. I mean, take into account the 17th game, but I just don't expect them to use him in the passing game more than they've been using him. I don't think they need to. Part of that is because I think Sean Payton likes having a little bit of diversity in terms of what his weapons can do. Like back when he had Darren Sproles and he had, who was the other running back during that time? There was Darren Sproles and there was was Mike Bell, it was somebody like that. And everybody knew when Mike Bell was on the field, they were running. And when Darren Sproles was on the field, they were passing. And he doesn't like having that type of predictability, let's say.
No, I get it. I think the only way they do that is if Tony Jones is so good that they need to get him carries. And I'm not expecting that.
Good question from AJ. 12-team Superflex, tight end premium, rebuild.
This is our first trade question.
Yeah, we got a good trade question here. Now we're only at 7:45. This is only we're getting there. Ryan, let's start with you. 12-team Superflex tight end premium rebuild. Traded Carr, Akers, Dobbins, Ridley for T-Law, Chase, Slim Reaper. That's for anybody that doesn't know, it's Devontae Smith. Have 3 22 first that I can use on RB's. Thoughts?
All right. So I like the T-Law side of this trade, but the second half of the question, the 3 22 first that you could use on running backs, unless they're high first, I doubt you could get Isaiah Spiller or Breece Hall. So that's a little bit of a doubt, but you don't get the year of production from Akers, Dobbins. Calvin Ridley might be wide receiver 1 this year. So, I mean, Chase, I like, with the struggles, and then Devontae Smith's going to get a heavy target share, and Trevor Lawrence is probably going to do Trevor Lawrence things.
Tyler?
This trade looks familiar. I don't remember if maybe this trade was my idea, but I think we know. We know that I want the Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is worth the entire other side. I mean, more or less at this point. I mean, Akers and Dobbins are injured. Carr is meh, and Ridley is nice, but it's super flex. So even if that's being slightly hyperbolic with Chase and Devonta Smith with the Lawrence side, it's the Lawrence side by a significant amount.
I agree. It's the Lawrence side, especially, I mean, you're pretty much getting so that's 3 first rounders right there that you're getting in terms of like 2021. So I can't tell so the 2022 first are separate from this, I guess, right?
Yeah,
if I'm reading this correctly.
On his team.
Do what?
That's just a comment, as in like he
Okay.
has
Gotcha.
the first, but they're not part of this deal.
Yeah. Gosh, how crazy would this have looked 2 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago, maybe, before the Akers injury,
It would be a lot. It would have been a lot back then. I wouldn't have paid that. I don't think I would have paid that much when Akers and Dobbins were healthy. But
Ed might be onto something here. They feel like Dokes, this Miami cannot get claimed, where Brown may be more likely to land elsewhere. That's probably true.
Well, that's definitely true because Brown had a guaranteed contract, so they would dump the money. They weren't going to cut him. But I was just hoping that they would keep Dokes on the roster anyway. And see if he developed, but it does not look like they chose to do that. So, yeah.
I have a theory for this.
I answered this on Twitter, actually.
This one from Dustin. I have a theory for this, and so tell me what your answer was. So the question from
the
Dustin
question was slightly different, but it was this is the follow-up to the original question. The original question was from Dustin was, do you think this is this real? Were there really more drafted rookies cut this year compared to the last year's? And I said yes. I said that I thought that there were. I said I felt like there were more cut this year. I don't have any evidence. That's not something I would go and look up because it doesn't really matter to me for my purposes. I don't really care. But I did feel that there were more cut this year. I don't know how you guys felt. Do you guys feel that way?
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we all agree that we feel there were more. But what about why?
Yeah. Do you have a theory why? Do you have any thoughts?
Honestly, I don't think there's a reason. I think it's just a coincidence. Not gonna lie, really. I just think this year is just how it happened that way. I think there's been years. I remember there were more in 2019, and there were other years like last year where I feel like there were none. So yeah. I think there are theories, but I think speculating on this is not really.
I'm going to speculate on it.
We're not going to know why.
Ryan, what do you think? Do you have an idea?
I agree with Tyler. It's just a coincidence. There's nothing really explaining why these people are all getting cut. I mean, I want to hear your theory, though. I'm intrigued right now.
Well, so look, sometimes I can get carried away on my narrative street thing from this. Okay, sometimes I can get carried away on this. And look, to be clear, it is just speculation and probably meaningless speculation. But it made me it sent me on another trail that might be worth tracking. So if there were a lot of draft type mistakes made, and it does seem like there are a bunch of drafted rookies that were cut, I'd love to see if it was any different than past years. If it was, like, I wouldn't want to compare it necessarily just to last year, but to previous years even before that. And I wonder if, like, some of that, the combine not happening, some different things that we didn't get because of COVID. I wonder if some of that we look at the combine and we think like the combine is useless most of the time. But I wonder if maybe there's more functionality to it than we see, because all we see is really the 40 times and stuff like that. But maybe there's more to it. The NFL wouldn't keep investing in it if there wasn't some kind of functionality to it, right? So if that's true, maybe that's leading to some of these a little bit more of a miss when it comes to, maybe that they're not a fit in the locker room. Maybe there's certain things about it that isn't working out quite the way it was. And if that's true, is it possible that can mess up some of our understandings about the analytics, where like day 3 draft picks, we expect them to not be good, right? But what if the same mistakes are being made in the opposite way, where actually these guys are turning out to be better than they thought? But they wouldn't have been day 3 picks had we had a normal off season with normal combine and things like that.
Maybe. I
Wild speculation. Who cares?
Maybe, right? I mean, maybe, right? We're not going to
know. Elijah Moore. So he's been out of camp, came back, and literally was like star of the show again.
Yeah.
Ryan, how many targets does Elijah Moore get this year?
Oh gosh, I'm not good at these target questions, but I'll just give it a guess, and I'll just say about like 80 or something, because Corey Davis is the unquestioned alpha in that offense. We saw it; he got every target in the preseason that he was on the field for. So I'd say about 80, maybe 90. That's just a guess, though. I'm not good with targets. It's gonna be the second option, though.
80 seems pretty good to me. What about you think? What do you think, Tyler?
80 to 90 seems good to me. I mean,
if he has that, it's a success, right? Like this is like he's going to have a lot of hype next year. If he gets 80 targets.
Elijah Moore and Rondale Moore are very similar to me. I think you're going to see very similarly another player I like. Player at a good college profile, got good draft capital with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson looks good with a good quarterback who's locked in there for a while, who I think is going to be a good quarterback. And gets a good head coach, a good offense. All of these things going for him. But, he's not the number 1 on the team. And now, of course, Corey Davis is less of a threat than DeAndre Hopkins. But the Jets, I think, it's close. They may or may not have better other players than the Cardinals. I don't know. I'm oddly more afraid of Jamison Crowder than I am of either Kirk or Green at this point. But the Jets also have a tight end apparently in Tyler Kroft. Now that they traded Chris Herndon away, that's something we could talk about. Tyler Kroft is going to be their starter. Yeah, I don't know. Elijah Moore, I have ranked. Remember, I had Rondale Moore ranked wide receiver 56 for the year. I have Elijah Moore at wide receiver 55. So almost the exact same thing that I'm expecting.
This is insane. Henry's on a 2-week vacation, is going to do 50 drafts.
Okay.
50.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of drafts.
So many drafts, Henry.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a lot.
This is why you're a legend.
Yeah.
PJ says Gus wherever Edmonds over Rojo and then over Dillon. Hey, can Kylan Hill be more productive in his career than AJ Dillon?
Well, it's possible. I mean, anything's
I kind of think it might be like probable.
No, I'm not going to bet on that. I mean, I'll have to see something more than just a couple nice preseason games. And
I kind of love him.
I like him, but like, I think AJ Dillon is good. I think AJ Dillon is talented. I think that, he's going to be the complement to Aaron Jones that actually makes sense to complement Aaron Jones with a bigger back, more bruising back, and let Aaron Jones be the Alvin Kamara type player that he's supposed to be. Instead of trying to compliment him with Jamal Williams in the passing game, that actually doesn't make sense. Complimenting him with AJ Dillon actually makes perfect sense. So yeah, I think AJ Dillon is good. Kylan Hill, I feel for him because I think he deserved to be picked higher in the 7th round. I think the reasons he wasn't were a little bit unfair. I think he dropped for, I don't really want to get into that, but I think he dropped for reasons I would call unfair. But I do think that AJ Dillon is a better player by a decent amount.
Ed, let's talk about Herndon. Vikings trade Herndon seems to signal Irv injury potentially being longer than the 4-week mark that was thrown out. What do we think of Chris Herndon?
No. We're not going to think of Chris Herndon. we're not going to do that.
Ryan, you're a big Chris Herndon guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna fall into the trap again, probably.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, but I know it's a trap, though. So at least I'm self-aware.
I'll throw you a rope to come rescue you. We're gonna start with Chris Herndon again. Really? I've had more than enough of Chris Herndon. I'm good. No thanks.
Last 2 weeks kept me hooked. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
The fact that his own team.
The fact that he actually scored points.
Oh God.
It's one of those things.
I seen enough of Chris Herndon. I think the more interesting part of what Ed said is the first part, which actually it sounds like something I said, which I did say earlier today. This is bad news. Bad news. Why spend? I mean, they have Tyler Conklin, a capable backup, not good, but capable. Why are we spending a 4th round pick to acquire Chris Herndon? That tells me that Irv is going to be out for a long time. It's going to be a long time. It's not going to be 2 weeks, or he's certainly not playing week 1. It's not going to be 2 weeks. It's not going to be 3 weeks. It's going to be a long time. A meniscus surgery. I mean, you could do a trim surgery like some people said, but to me, it sounds like it's going to be a while. So it makes me sad because I was, a big Irv Smith fan. I was expecting a year 3 breakout. At some point I had him ranked as a back end tight end 1 in redraft. Now, I don't know. Now I'm obviously out in any redraft format. In Dynasty, I don't know.
If it means good news for anybody else, it's got to be Smith Marset, right? Like, I don't think Herndon is going to be a thing, but could some of those targets go to the rookie?
Okay, so I looked that up actually, how Smith Marset was doing in camp recently. Smith Marset almost had the Cornell Powell treatment and got cut from the roster.
Oh, God.
Abysmal. Recently. Yeah, it was good and then it was not so good. So he did make the team. I do still like him as a sleeper, but not what I want. When I looked it up, it was not what I wanted to hear. So
who is Nathan Fillion?
Have you watched what is it, Castle?
Castle?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's a show. What's it about? Like, there's a police thing.
Detective.
I don't know anything about it. What do I know about TV? But I do know actually a lot about these police procedural shows.
I love that you're explaining TV to me, though.
Yeah. But I don't know who Nathan Fillion is.
What is that really old one where they traveled around on the spaceship? Oh, I have to look this up.
Star Trek?
No. It was one season. I got to look it up because everyone like loves this show.
What?
Firefly. That's what it was.
Firefly.
Oh, I do like Firefly.
He was on that. That's
he
where
was on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, I chose another path, like eating a lot more cake and not going to LA.
Well, also other things.
Mark Kamen, 12 team, Superflex, PPR, half tight end premium, startup. Round 21 choices are Tyson Williams, Juwan Johnson, Jacob Harris, Colin Granson, or Jared Patterson. Which one of these guys are you taking?
It's easy for me. You know what the answer is.
Jacob Harris.
Yeah, it is.
You agree, Ryan?
I agree.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I will say I think Juwan Johnson is going to be better this year. If you're in round 21, I don't know what you're looking for here, Mark. Juwan Johnson's
I'll give you. The people need to hear it. By the end of the year, you won't have a spot for Tyler Higbee on your dynasty roster. It won't be worth it. It won't be worth it. You're not even going to want to bother. Be like, oh, this old player that produced nothing all year, 2 years in a row of nothing, and this has just lost his job to this actually athletic, useful player. You're not going to want Tyler Higbee on your roster. So Jacob Harris, these now let's not get this incorrect. A lot of players were listed here that I like. I mean, Kylan Granson was listed. That's a player actually very similar to
I
Jacob
like him too.
Harris.
Yeah,
I'm very interested. Another one, Jarrett Patterson, very interested.
Me too.
He pushed Peyton Barber off the roster. Peyton Barber was going to make the team. They were going to carry 4 running backs. They didn't feel that was necessary. They felt comfortable enough in Patterson to go with only Gibson, McKissick, and Patterson. So McKissick doesn't even carry the ball. He maybe a little, but he's not a real running back. He's more a receiver. So Patterson is now the direct carry backup for carries, really, to Gibson. So Patterson, someone I'm very interested in. I would be very interested. Tyson Williams and Juwan Johnson, less so, especially Tyson Williams. Juwan Johnson, I have some interest, but definitely below. Like, I actually think that Harris, Granson, and Patterson are good. Juwan Johnson, I have no idea. He might be good. That's an opportunity. And Tyson Williams, the same thing. I guess that's how you do the differentiation. Like, I think Harris, Granson, and Patterson are actually good. Whereas I think Tyson Williams and Juwan Johnson, you're chasing opportunity only.
Yeah. Now, I will say with Juwan Johnson, you're taking opportunity at a position where there's a lot of scarcity if you don't have, a good option. Tyson Williams, it feels like Dernish Johnson last year. Like, we were like, oh, yeah, here we go. Great guy. Let's put him in here.
That's a great way of putting it, actually. That's exactly what he feels like. He's a guy, he might get a little run here or there, and then, by a few weeks, you'll just be dropping him again. That's a good, I actually like that. That's a very, very good comparison.
I offer something here every now and then.
You
Henry says,
Houston wants. You're one of the best hosts in the biz.
No, I appreciate it. Houston wants to lose. They don't want Cam Newton. Yeah, I don't think Cam Newton makes any sense for Houston. I do think he could make some sense in Baltimore, though.
Well, I don't think so. Because Lamar Jackson didn't get the vaccine either. So,
gosh.
So if Cam Newton is
to add that into my
there, then they could lose their entire quarterback room just from one close contact. That doesn't. I think they're smart enough not to do that, right? I mean, think about it. It's a competitive advantage. There's no way they're going to do that.
I thought about this one too, about going to Pittsburgh. Maybe.
I don't think so. I think that they want to keep Rudolph and Haskins on the roster. I mean, look, they gave Rudolph a $5 million extension for 2022 for I don't know what reason, but they did that. And they clearly want to keep Dwayne Haskins on the roster for the, I don't even, how do I say this? The alleged potential that they see that isn't actually there. So I don't think so. They're not going to be signing Cam.
How about this? Thoughts on vets like Perriman being cut from Detroit? Think the Saints look his way? Let's tackle the Perriman one first. There's a lot of connections being made because Jameis Winston has been named the starter officially in New Orleans. And there was a good connection between him and Brashad Perriman in 2019, the 30 for 30 year for Jameis. Do you think there's, like, if Perriman signs in New Orleans, would you be interested in redraft?
No, his full contract. This is a coup when you do this. When you manage this, he signed as a free agent to a 1-year deal. 1-year deal he signed with $2 million of his $2.5 million guaranteed. $2 million guaranteed. 1-year deal as a free agent, and he managed not to make the team. Somehow he pulled that off. He's done. He's done. He couldn't make the line. He's done. Done.
Look, he didn't make the Lions. That's true, but they like Khalif Raymond so much there, and I don't understand. I don't understand.
$2 million to go away. They paid him $2 million to go away. How bad? Yeah. How bad must he have been?
Khalif Raymond, like, how is he pushing people off a roster?
That just goes to show you that Perryman is totally done.
Yeah.
Done. Because Khalif Raymond did nothing on the Titans. Nothing at all.
No, nothing.
Nothing. So
But Detroit loves him. They go read about what some of the quotes they've been saying about Khalif Raymond.
Players that they like there, but Perryman is just a no thank you. I think at this point it's like, did we pick up Chris Hogan when he signed with the Saints? No, right? Because like he's an old veteran that nobody cares about. Pick up D.D. Westbrook when he signed with the Vikings? No, because like it's past that point. I think Perryman with this release has moved into that group of like, yeah, might his NFL career continue? Sure. His NFL career will not continue on any of my dynasty rosters. This was his last chance.
Yeah, I still have Chris Hogan on my lacrosse fantasy league, so I will be keeping him there for sure. Ryan, what about Cornell Powell? Yeah, Seth Williams we can add into there too. Des Fitzpatrick. You think these guys land anywhere? Are they worth a stash at least on a taxi squad for now, or just leave them on the waiver wire?
I mean, I think you could leave him on the waiver wire because if they get cut by other teams, I mean, especially Des Fitzpatrick, he was a 4th round pick, like we were saying earlier. If you don't make your current team, it's going to be hard to stick somewhere else. I totally agree with that notion, but yeah, I mean, maybe taxi squad if it's a real deep league, but besides that, not interested.
Yeah, no, those players. I just comment on all of them. Seth Williams, I'm just done. Just done. He dropped in the draft because he was lazy, and then he continued to be lazy at camp.
That's the draft pick that makes the least amount of sense.
That one, there was no spot for him on the depth chart at all. He didn't even he had no path to even being the wide receiver 4. He didn't make any effort to do anything to change their minds. So he's just, forget him. He's done. Also, Daz Newsome was cut too from the Bears. So he can throw him in with this group. And he also is done because he has a collarbone injury. And I'm just not going to wait for a 6th round rookie who was injured. Is not looking so great. So the other two, Powell and Fitzpatrick. Powell at least went to Clemson. Fitzpatrick, I expect Fitzpatrick to be claimed on waivers. I think that Newsome and Williams will go unclaimed, and I think they'll end up on the practice squad, in which case you just cut them. If a team claims these players, I'm okay with leaving. I did not drop Powell and Fitzpatrick out of my dynasty rankings entirely, but they're outside of the top 300. So unless you're in a very deep league, you can just drop them too. I would, like I said, I'd be more interested if another team claimed them than if they made it through waivers entirely. 4th round picks are almost always claimed when this happens. So I expect Des Fitzpatrick to be claimed. Cornell Powell is a name that NFL teams will know because he went to Clemson. I expect him to be claimed also. I don't think that he's going to end up on the practice squad.
All these guys, their path to any kind of relevance in our fantasy lineups just got way harder. There are so few examples of day 3 picks.
There are so few. If you don't make your original team, you're like, if you're 6th or 7th, you're just cooked. 4th and 5th sometimes get claimed and then end up elsewhere and have a flash here or there. Because 4th or 5th round picks don't usually get cut. There's often other reasons. Like Seth Williams, well, that's a different one. But like Cornell Powell, I don't know why he got cut. Des Fitzpatrick, I get what happened there. They didn't know that they were going to have Julio Jones when they drafted him. He's going to be claimed. He will be claimed by another team.
What about, guys that we actually kind of love? One guy we loved last year in JaMychal Hasty, and then Brightwell we've talked about. But now that Gallman and Clement are cut, what about the San Francisco backfield, Ryan? I mean, JaMychal Hasty obviously making the team, but Elijah Mitchell also. Trey Sermon, still got Raheem Mostert. Jeff Wilson's hanging in the shadows still. What do you think about that backfield?
Just so people know, Jeff Wilson was put on the active pup, the inactive pup, so he will miss 6 games.
Yeah, that's expected. Yeah,
we expected that, but I wanted people to know that formally happened today with his. I believe it was a meniscus knee injury.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what do you make, Ryan? You think there's any? I mean, like, who would you rather have, Elijah Mitchell or JaMychal Hasty?
Oh, Elijah Mitchell. That's
not
with the draft capital, and a lot of people liked him at the end of the year too, or at least in their Scott Fishbowl drafts. including myself. But had to reference that one real quick. But yeah, you can help both these players pretty easy.
Well, if Ryan drafted Mitchell, I don't know. What does that mean?
You're out. You're gone.
Yeah, Craig is surprised Kawan Baker got cut. They just said he's working with the Ones a week ago.
I was surprised too. And I have nothing to add about either Hasty or Brightwell. It's put him on your roster in a deep league. Otherwise, forget it. That's the case with a lot of these kind of guys. Not players I'm interested
in. Okay, I'm gonna lock it up.
This is a very good question.
Yeah, I like all the starters are owned in my Superflex league. Which backup should I prioritize since I am short on QB? Tyler, start us off.
Okay, so the top guy who's a backup is Jordan Love. Jordan Love is the top backup. I don't count like Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Those are not backups. Those are the starter. They're just not the starter just yet. Jordan Love is back. Jordan Love is a backup, and he is currently, to me, the only backup that I am pretty sure is going to get a chance to start eventually. There really isn't another guy that I'm like that confident in. So Jordan Love would be, if you can get him cheap, would be the one that I would target if you want a player, that could be a starter later. I mean, he's the top one, and then you have other guys, but he's the one at the moment.
Yeah, Jordan Love makes a lot of sense. My guess is if every starter's own Jordan Love at some point was picked up, especially over the offseason.
Jordan Love is not available. That's not possible.
Is there anybody? Tyler Heineke is the one that comes to mind for me as somebody that could get some starts
on waivers though, because people picked him up when he was starting last year. And I've never seen him really on a Superflex waiver wire. So he's not there.
Any names come to mind for you, Ryan?
I mean, if Mitch Trubisky's not picked up, I mean, I think he could start potentially next year. Marcus Mariota's in the same boat.
Actually, I'll put the article. I did. That's a good one. Yeah, I did an article, and I'm going to put the link in the chat for anyone interested. There it is. I did an article on the Bills summer sleeper, and I did mention Mitch Trubisky as a good addition in Superflex League. So I completely agree. It's a good one. Someone.
If offensive coordinator Brian Daboll likes what he sees out of Mitch Trubisky, I mean, he could take him with him to a new job if Daboll gets a head coaching job. That's just a really deep, conspiracy theory kind of thing, but you never know.
Yeah, no one's ever going to give Mitch Trubisky like another franchise QB job, but who's to say he couldn't be the Andy Dalton of 2022?
Yeah.
Or the Tyrod
or just that guy that comes over as part of, that Brian Daboll conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it there, Ryan, is exactly, I've said the same exact thing.
So the other thing is, if you want to look at backups, you want to look at, obviously any quarterback can get injured and then the backup comes in. But you want to look at guys who have some semblance of a non-injury path to getting there. We just mentioned Trubisky. As one of those. I do think that Gardner Minshew has a non-injury path to see the field. If Jalen Hurts is abysmal, if he's just horrible, they will yank him. They're going to give him a leash. But if we have 8 games of just abysmal, they weren't going to yank him for Flacco, but they will put Minshew in. They will yank Hurts. So he has a path to seeing the field again. So he's someone, he needs to be on a roster in every single Dynasty Superflex League, Gardner Minshew. Other than that, I mean, there's a couple others. Kellen Mond, we've already talked about, Kellen Mond has his own issues, but the Vikings are not happy with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins and the Vikings are heading for a major divorce after his contract is up, which we've talked about every show essentially. So, Kellen Mond is someone I would put Kellen Mond on my Dynasty Superflex roster. And then, Cal will love this one. Taysom Hill. You should put Taysom Hill on your Dynasty Superflex roster because if Jameis Winston ever gets hurt, if Taysom Hill is the starter playing all of the snaps, he'll be a quarterback 1 that week.
Nobody, I guess Drew Lock is too owned to put in this conversation.
Finished. They're not going back to Drew Lock unless Teddy gets hurt. They won't bench Teddy. if they made Teddy the starter now, they're not going to go back to Locke. They usually don't do that.
Yeah, man.
Locke
Do
is
the
done.
do the rumors in Miami make you think that maybe Jacoby Brissett could get a look?
How? Oh, you mean if Watson? No.
Okay. Just digging deep, just trying to figure out, We'll see.
No. I do think that there's a universe that somehow that Ian Book becomes interesting. New Orleans third string quarterback
Who made the team, apparently.
Yeah, he could be someone that I'd be interested in. Always Marcus Mariota, if you want to keep him on your roster. These are not Eason, who we mentioned earlier, even though I don't think much of him.
Oh, what about PJ Walker, who looked pretty good in the preseason?
No, I just okay. So Carolina I just wrote about Sam Darnold, actually, so I'm prepared for this conversation. Carolina, and I didn't talk about this in the article, but I know this from the back of my head. Carolina's owner, David Tepper, is like desperate to secure a real franchise quarterback. The contenders for Watson in the pre-allegations phase, the real contenders were Miami and Carolina. Those were the teams that we know they called. We're 100% sure they called. There's no doubt. It's well documented. They called. So he will not accept PJ Walker as his starting quarterback. He's not going to accept that. So he will do anything, whatever it takes, to make sure that they have a franchise quarterback, whatever it is. So no on PJ Walker for me. I just don't think that's ever going to happen.
If Huntley gets some starts, he's going to be fantasy relevant. We're going deep here. Tyler Huntley for the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh,
if he gets, because he is like a same style quarterback of Lamar Jackson and can add in some rushing. So
yeah, I'd rather. But I mean, sure. You can roster, if you're in a really deep super flex league, you can roster these guys. You can roster Huntley. You can roster Walker. These are guys you could put on your bench just in case they get an opportunity.
Yeah.
But in a normal sized super flex leagues with say 30 roster spots, you're going to pass on these guys. But if you have,
we're talking about deep dart throws, right? Like that's,
super flex league with 35 bench spots. Yes, guys, every single backup quarterback should be rostered in that case. But I'm usually, when I'm thinking super flex, I'm usually thinking a 12 team league with about 30 total spots as my default.
Okay, so I am about like 2 minutes from getting kicked out of where I am. Dustin, Scott, appreciate you doing the show tonight. Thank you for putting up with my audio and video. I don't know how this is, coming across, but appreciate dealing with that. I am potentially within about 25, 30 minutes going to be back because I have another spot I'm going to go try. So I might see you back. Otherwise, I'm going to hand this over to Tyler and to Ryan. And appreciate all the kind words. Also want to say I'm really excited to see there's some good news from on tags, Mike Tagliere from Fantasy Pros. There's been some good news on him. So I'm really happy to see that.
We opened the show with that last week, wishing him well. And I really hope that, he heard some of the things that we said, or someone showed him, or he saw the tweets that I made and Kyle made and others made, because, as a community, we need him. We have all come together to support Mike, and he's someone that is a special presence in this community. So, if anything that we do makes even the smallest bit of difference, it's worth it. It's worth it. And I just, I wish the best to his. I know he has a family, he has his kids, and he has his wife, and she's been very active communicating his situation to us on Twitter. So I just wish them all the best. And it's the kind of thing that it makes me, it still makes me sad every time I open Twitter, to be honest. It really does. And, I just hope that, if at Mike Tagliere NFL, if you want to just send him your own well wishes or anything like that, I'm sure it'll mean a lot to him, and I'm sure he will see it.
Tyler, I'm pulling up the question we were on. You guys take it away, and maybe I'll see you guys in 20, 30 minutes, and maybe I won't, and I'll see you next week.
All good. All right. So let's let me see if I can get us back to the. Okay.
There we go.
That is the 2-person template that Cal and I usually use. And so Ryan, you can't click through the questions, right?
No, I cannot. It comes up.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
okay, so I will do both and try to see where I'm going to try to catch up to where we are. Sorry for this. I found where we are. Okay. So if there's, Ryan, stay at the bottom of the chat, and if there's a super chat that has like money, just tell me, and I'll do something about that. Otherwise, we will continue. So,
alrighty, let's continue with it. Superflex 6-point passing touchdown, Zach Wilson or Mac Jones plus a 2022 second, which he says is likely mid.
Okay, so of course, before today, this trade would be Zach Wilson, I think, for most people. At this point, well, why don't we? You're here. Well, people they get to hear what I say all the time. So let's hear from you. So, do you do dynasty rankings? So, do you?
I don't do dynasty rankings, or I do redraft rankings. I don't know. I don't do dynasty rankings.
So, where do you think you would rank Zach Wilson, like off the top of your head in dynasty?
It would probably be like mid-teens.
Really?
Like, yeah. Probably like 14, 15, maybe 14, a little higher.
All right. Because I have him 13. I have Mac Jones 19. I think that this trade is even, fair.
It looks pretty even to me.
I'm going to stick with Zach Wilson, though. I'll stick with Zach Wilson. I just like Zach Wilson as a prospect way better. So I'm going to stick with the guy that I like. A second's just not going to be enough for me.
I agree. You could pick that second up elsewhere too in another trade or something.
Yeah, I just
they'll take it over the top.
Yeah, it's a good question though. It's a good question with Mac Jones's changing value today. I did move him up about a round of value in my Superflex dynasty ranks. So, I had him as a late 5th rounder before Cam was released. Now I have him as a late 4th rounder because I didn't expect Cam to be released, and that shows confidence in him. So I thought it was worthy of raising the value about a round. So that was my value change on the Cam release for Mac Jones. Let's move on.
All right.
Okay. So Ed,
in fantasy, not too many running backs are going to get the targets. Barkley will. So that's why it's hard to fade him even a little more. I mean, I get that.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, Kamara, CMC, they will get the targets. But yeah, I think people fading him are really fading him for the injury, right? Like they're not fading him because, of worrying about his targets. Everyone on the team is injured. And Golladay came back to practice today, in case anyone didn't know. But Ingram is not practicing, surprisingly. So yeah, I wouldn't fade. I wouldn't fade Barkley right now.
Never about the talent.
No.
So were you surprised that Tyron Johnson got cut in LA? And do you think Josh Palmer is the number 3 this year for the Chargers?
Actually, I was surprised. I thought that Tyron Johnson, Jalen Guyton, and Josh Palmer were all going to make the team. I'm actually kind of surprised Tyron Johnson didn't make the team, personally. There were reports earlier in the training camp that he had a lead on the number 3 job over Guyton and Palmer for now. Seems like that wasn't the case. I think that Jalen Guyton is going to be the number 3 to begin the year. But I think that Josh Palmer will be the number 3, soon.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think they could switch out snaps in the beginning of the year, share that number 3 job kind of.
That sounds about right.
Not pushing for 2 with Mike Williams.
I like Josh Palmer long term though. Mike Williams, as we know, is a free agent after this year, and I don't think they're gonna re-sign him. He's gonna be too expensive. He's always injured. I don't think they're gonna re-sign him. Okay.
Why do people continue to think Cam Newton is a good QB? I don't know. I feel like I have to double back on my statement earlier that I said that it was Washington or Houston. Those are just the teams that needed the quarterback the most. That's why I said that.
I mean, because they're looking back 5 years. I mean, they're looking back at what Cam was, and they're not focused on what Cam is. Cam is done. Cam has been done since the shoulder injury in late 2018. he was done down the stretch in 2018. He struggled, and then he came back in 2019 and he sucked. And then he came back and then he missed the rest of the season with his foot. And then he, in 2020, he looked like absolute garbage. Cam Newton is done. I've been saying Cam Newton is done for a long time. He's done. He was a great player. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks, to watch, favorite quarterbacks to draft in fantasy, but he's finished. He's finished, and he's honestly been finished for a couple of years. So I don't know why. Continuing
on with that, do you think it's part of the pre-COVID 2020 where he was like the quarterback 6? Do you think people are kind of holding on to that one a little bit? I think he was 6, some of that range.
So long ago. I mean, he looked like garbage when he came back on the field, and he didn't look good during that time. He can't throw. If you watch him in the preseason, he can't throw. If you watched him last year, he can't throw. I mean, he can't throw. He hurt his shoulder and he can't throw. It's an injury. Injuries happen, and that's it. It's just he can't throw. It's that simple. So he's done.
I agree. He's cooked. It's like
sad,
you said,
but it's
definitely sad. Definitely wheels up for Gaskins this season.
Yeah, I mean, with Jared Doakes released, yeah, I mean, it's going to be. We'll see, though. I need to see week 1. I want to see what this committee looks like. What is the committee? That's something I need to see. All right.
This is a good one. Do you think Aguilar is worth a second? Thinking about shopping him, maybe combine him plus a third for a second. Tyler, what do you got?
No. We're not doing this. No, we don't trade away picks for mediocre garbage. We don't do that. That's how you bust your dynasty team. No, it's just I have him ranked in redraft at wide receiver 64. I'm not going to be paying a second for that. Oh, you want to trade him away? Oh, right. You want to trade him away. You're not going to get that. You think you can get even a second for Aguilar and a third? I feel like a competent manager is not going to give you that. I think I'd be fine just taking a third and just moving on. And that I think you can get. I don't think you can get more than that, right?
No.
I think people have come around to the idea that Jacoby Myers is the wide receiver 1 there, and that, Aguilar is at best the 4th weapon behind Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, and Myers. Even in a Mac Jones offense, I'm still not interested. So just take a third and move on.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. You're not going to get a second. That's just not realistic. Next.
All right. I think this was regarding the cuts.
Yeah, this is regarding the cut players from the rounds 4 through 7. I actually don't think it has to do with the UDFAs. Maybe it's the heightened pool of veterans. It's like the Bears cut Daz Newsome to keep Marquise Goodwin and Demir Bird. To give you an idea, that's who they were choosing. They chose the veterans. So maybe you see more teams choosing veterans. That could be it. But I guess that still doesn't really tell you why they're choosing the veterans, just that they're choosing the veterans. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just a mystery. But I do agree with the people who've said that there were more this year. I can't prove it. And also remember that we only care about 4 positions out of all of them. Were there actually more? Or was it just that there were more quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends this year? That's, especially wide receivers. That's an interesting question. Maybe there weren't actually more. It just happened to be more that we care about. If anyone wants to do that study, please do it and show me your data. I would love to read it. I will not do that study myself, but I would actually be very interested if that's a real phenomenon or if it's just something, because we all agreed on it. If it's something we're just imagining together. Next question.
Right. Homestar Runner, awesome show. Thank you, Homestar.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Definitely do. What is Dobbins worth now? I just traded for him, giving up a mid to late 2022 first plus Damian Williams in a 12-team 1 QB league. And do we know if there's any damage to the LCL?
So we'll start with the LCL question first. We do know that there was a possibility of some damage to the LCL. This kind of like information, though, we're not going to see his MRI. Like, we're not really going to know. We're going to guess, but we're not going to know. But there was rumor that there was additional damage, just like there was with Cortland Sutton and just like there was with Saquon Barkley. So let's just assume that that's the case. And there's going to be a delay. It happened before the season, so unless there's something catastrophic, Dobbins is going to play at whatever he's going to be for the future from this week 1. He might not be 100% again ever, because that's always possible, but I think he's going to be 100% of what he's going to be week 1, whatever that is. So that, I guess, answers the second question first. Is as for what Dobbins is worth now. So you gave up a mid to late 2021 first for Dobbins in a 1 QB league. I'm a lot better within a 1 QB league. Superflex league, I just would not do it at the risk of giving up a potential starting quarterback for an injured running back. I'm just not going to do that. But in a 1 QB league, Damian Williams is irrelevant. So essentially, just the first there. I think I'm okay with that. I don't think I would be targeting Akers or ETN. I'm too worried about them. But I think for Dobbins, I'm confident enough he's going to come back that I think I'm okay in a 1 QB league of just paying the mid to late first if I'm pretty confident it's going to be mid to late. I'd like to be confident in that, though. If it's up in the air, I probably wouldn't do it. How you feel about that?
I definitely agree with that one. Like you said, Dobbins, it's an ACL, so it's not an Achilles or a Liz Frank that we were talking about earlier. He could come back to be, 95% of himself. And 95% of himself is well worth a first, even with giving up the production.
Well, just to give you an idea, in 1 QB leagues, which this is 1 QB, so I rank Dobbins 45th overall. The only rookies that I rank ahead of him are the 4 you would think. Harris, Chase, Pitts, and Javonte Williams. So that means that I would value him between the 104 and the 105 in this year's class, which means giving up a mid to late first in a next year's class and a 1 QB seems reasonable. Whereas in a Superflex league, like I have 10 players that I'd rather have than J.K. Dobbins, or 9 or 10 players. So I'm not as interested in giving up any firsts for him with the quarterbacks in there. But fair question. I always like when these 1 QB and Superflex first round picks come up, because I like to mention that the difference in value of a first round pick versus a non-quarterback in 1 QB and Superflex leagues. But this is a good question.
Yeah, I definitely
pretty fair trade, slightly leaning to the Dobbins side.
Plus, we won't have like a Chase or a Pitts type next year. Doesn't look like as of now.
We don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know that, but
we don't know that.
So from AG 1990 on a rebuilder, would you trade Diggs for Trey Lance plus a 2022 first Superflex 12-team league?
Sorry, I was just having a malfunction.
I was having it on the inside.
Yeah, major malfunction. Yes. Do it. If this offer is on the table, go turn us off. Go accept the offer now. Accept it now before it goes away. Yes. I'd rather have Trey Lance over Diggs at all. Wouldn't you? In Superflex? I mean, I'd rather have Lance at all.
Oh yeah, I'd have Lance over Diggs. And plus you get the 2022 first on top of that? Yeah. Like what?
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Go do the trade now. This is easy.
Please run.
So there are some hard questions, but this isn't one of them. Make this deal immediately, and this is the first trade where I really think a celebration would be in order. If you get this deal, go buy yourself something nice. Go buy yourself something nice and have a very celebratory night, because you deserve it after getting this deal done.
I agree. So Ed, he traded Chris Carson and Sterling Shepard for Dobbins and Ruggs on a productive struggle startup.
Oh boy. Speaking of celebrations, we can run the celebration back. Another celebration. I mean, I'd rather have Dobbins and Carson. I'd rather have Ruggs over Shepard in Dynasty. So celebrate 200%. Again. Right? I mean, it's not even close on both of those. I'd much rather have Dobbins over Carson. Much rather have Ruggs over Shepard. So congratulations, Ed. We're doing well in here. We're doing
lots of great trades going down. We love it.
Doing well in here. I like to see that people in the chat are making good trades. That means that we're helping. We are helping the people. But yes, Ed, this is an excellent trade. You killed it. And just please, it's okay. Come in here and do a victory lap. Come if you have a trade, it's you won the trade by a lot. Please come in here, share the trade, because I want the people. There might be someone listening who doesn't know that was like a killer trade. They didn't know. So if they hear me talk about it, and then they'll know, maybe they can make that trade or similar trade in their own league. So that's how we keep giving us, people listening to this podcast, people here, an advantage over everyone else. We want to be the winners in here. and make sure that we beat everyone else. That's what we want to do. So, giving good examples of great trades is a great way to do that. So we're going to continue to do that moving forward. Okay, this is another comment about.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Particularly, I agree.
Everett over Herndon. Who do you got, Tyler?
Yes. Yes. I mean, Herndon is so bad that yes, I'd rather. I'm not a big Everett fan, but over Herndon for sure, right? I mean, Herndon is a bust, and Everett's at least done a little more.
He's done a little more, and he might be the third option in the passing game in Seattle. So
also another team just paid him $6 million to be there.
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, a team paid him $6 million. The Jets got rid of Herndon. they paid his $2 million bonus to make him go away. That's what they did. They paid money to make him go to another team or whatever. They paid something to make him go away. So that we don't want that.
Not at all.
Let's move on.
From Jason, should he try to get Irv Smith for 75 cents on the dollar? He looked pretty good before he went down to the meniscus injury. He doesn't know if that sounds great.
I think I'm going to just pass on that. I think that if he's actually ruled out for the season, then I might try to acquire Irv Smith for like 33 cents on the dollar. But I don't think I want to pay 75 cents on the dollar or that kind of price right now. I think I'm just going to wait. I don't think I want to acquire Irv Smith with the sword of out for the season over his head. You could get a tweet tomorrow being like, Irv Smith will miss the rest of the 2021 season as he gets his meniscus tear and his knee replaced. And why buy now? So that's going to be a no from me.
I agree. You got to wait for that timetable. Like you said, it could go down to a fraction of what you would have traded for him right now. So
yeah, like I said, if he's ruled out for the season, then let's talk about buying him. Then I would like to do that. But right now, I think not for me. This one I answered.
Yeah, you answered this one.
I answered this exactly. How high does Mac Jones move up the draft board? Dynasty anyway. I answered it. I moved him up around I had him 60th overall. He became 48th in Superflex tight end premium, my ranking. So I moved him up one round. Looks like Cal might be back. So we might have some help here. But in redraft, I'm not touching Mac Jones. I have quarterback 29. I'm not interested. Cal, come back in if you can hear me.
I think do you have to add him to the show? I believe so. I don't know.
We will see.
We're gonna figure it out. There we go. He's back.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm back. There's
back.
Too much to talk about to not find a way to make it work, right?
All right. I'm gonna go back down to the bottom of the chat, and you stay where we are, like we usually do. Okay. So do you see where you are? We're on this question at 9:33.
Mac Jones. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, perfect. So we answered this one. So let's move on to the next one.
Have we talked about Mac Jones, what he means for the rest of the Patriots?
Actually, we talked about Mac Jones, how far I moved him up in where I put him in redraft, quarterback 29. If I didn't say that number, it's quarterback 29. In Dynasty, we talked about how I moved him up there, but we didn't really talk about how he affects the rest of the weapons, not in any detail. I think I mentioned it offhand, but no, we didn't. So you want to talk about that now? Let's talk about that now.
Yeah, let's talk about that now. Tell me what does it do for Damian Harris? What does it do for Jacoby Myers or Nelson Aguilar or any of the other weapons that are there?
Well, it's good for everybody. It's just a question of how much. And nobody moved down. Every single person moved up. Every player moved up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a question of how much, really.
So how high are you moving Damian Harris then? As far as, you've got Ramondre Stevenson there, obviously. So how much do you weigh that in when you think about Damian Harris?
A good amount. I didn't move Damian Harris that high.
What about you, Ryan?
I mean, I definitely agree. Ramondre Stevenson looks fantastic in this preseason, and, he could vulture on the goal line. You never know. So he didn't move up that high for me either.
Does it give some redraft value to James White?
I think I'm done with James White, to be honest with you.
A little bit up.
I just think James White didn't look like the same James White last year. So I think I'm going to pass on James White. Redraft, I have him, even in PPR, I have James White RB 49. Take it or leave it.
Some love for Firefly in the chat room. Love it. Adam loves Yeah, Jason. Oh man, my comment from Periscope made it through. Nice Firefly. Cat Zero. Imagine calling Firefly the really old one.
I guess I had to explain this. I was like 3 or 4 when Firefly came out. I wasn't, born when, all those other ones came out, like Star Trek and whatnot.
Yeah,
so that's why I call it the old one.
You're even younger than me.
I'm 23, man. I'm like little in this community, I guess.
Ryan is what, 16, 17?
Oh my
I'm older than Luke.
Older than Hutch?
Well, everyone's older than Hutch. Hutch, if anyone doesn't know who these people are, Hutch, Hutchinson Brown, you should go find him on Twitter. Crazy that it fit. What is he, 15 years old? Crazy that a 15-year-old like creates fantasy football content and has like a Twitter account and like all of that. I'm 26 and I still have a lot to work on there. So, 15, I never would have been able to do it. So I find that very impressive. If anyone's looking for a new follow on Twitter, I would look in that direction.
Get asked, what should I be looking for in return from Mac Jones in a super
We didn't really talk about that, did we? Well, if you're not a believer, now's the time to sell, right? Because you don't have to see it in the regular season, and he got the value bump from getting the starting job. But I kind of am a believer, so I really don't want to sell. I don't want to sell because the risk that you take in selling is he lights the world on fire week 1 and week 2, and he's a second-round startup pick. So I would need 2 firsts. I'll need 2 firsts.
I get on board with that because, like you said, if he lights the world on fire, he is that second-round startup pick, and you're losing so much value before he even plays a snap in the league. So I definitely agree.
I mean, I have him like in Superflex. I have him in the same value range as Terry McLaurin. What's it going to cost to get Terry McLaurin? 2 firsts, right? I mean, it's going to cost 2 firsts. You're not going to get him for less. So I have him in the same value range as Javonte Williams. What's it going to cost to get Javonte Williams? First and a second's not going to be enough. You'll get laughed at. You got to come with 2 firsts. So it's going to take 2 firsts at this point. And if I had Mac Jones, I'd probably just take the 2 firsts and take the profit. But it's hard. It's hard to do it. But I probably would do it and just not see it.
Are we at a point? So Mac Jones makes the biggest downside of Mac Jones is it's hard to even evaluate his fantasy value because he doesn't add anything on the rushing side, right? And we're kind of at a point where if you don't add anything on the rushing side, it limits your cap. I mean, Tom Brady was like QB8 and he had 40 touchdowns last year. So even a 40 touchdown season.
I get that, but in Superflex, if he's good real life quarterback, you could have years and years and years of a starting quarterback who delivers quarterback to value. Sure. if he improves, and that's just worth a lot. That's worth a lot. So I would need to.
I've heard talk of people wanting to adjust the way we, the scoring for quarterbacks because of this.
Because of what? Adjust
because how much emphasis there is on that rushing ability. That's
is this really a problem?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen it around. Speaking of problem,
here's my take on that. Here's my take on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Play in the scoring system that makes you happy. You want to play in that scoring system? Find 11 other people and play in a league with that scoring system with those 11 other people. I like the scoring system we have. I like PPR, Superflex, tight end premium, 4 or 6 point passing touchdowns. I can get on board with either. I tend to like 1.75 tight end premium. I generally like the 1-1-1-1 all flex after that starting format. But if that's not what you play, then play whatever makes you happy. Just find people who want to play with you and want to play in the format that you like. That's one of the ways to start a league. And if you ever have any league inspiration, go to DLF family of podcasts, go listen to Commission Impossible, and they'll give you every single league format that you could possibly think of.
Such a good show.
So
Great show.
One of my favorite shows. So that's what I would say. Play in. I'm not changing the scoring setting for everybody. Just you change the scoring setting in your own league and make your own. That's a great thing about all this.
I want to touch on this maybe carefully, but Jason asked also on this. Pro Football Talk reports NFLPA opened up an investigation of the Jaguars coach Urban Meyer comments on the vaccination status. So, two takeaways. One, I listen to nothing Pro Football Talk says ever. I think they're awful. I don't listen to anything they say.
I think we agree on that, is that they're always wrong.
Always wrong.
Always wrong.
Two, this is not news. This is what the NFLPA does. They operate on behalf of players, and they have to operate on behalf of every player. So this really isn't news in the first place.
Not news.
This was going to happen. It's the NFLPA's job, and Pro Football Talk is the most overfollowed account on Twitter.
That's probably true. Urban just shouldn't have said that.
He just shouldn't have said the quiet part out loud.
He said the quiet part out loud. That's what he did wrong. As you can tell, as someone who doesn't work for the NFL, and as someone who the NFLPA can't do anything to me, I'm telling you, as the listeners of this show, that yes, it is a competitive advantage to have more vaccinated players, because then they don't miss 5 days for being a close contact, and it doesn't wreak havoc on your week-to-week availability based on the rules that the NFLPA and the NFL agreed to. They agreed to these rules. So, that's what I would tell you for your fantasy teams. You're going to have to watch this. If you have Lamar Jackson or Carson Wentz, this is going to be something you're going to have to deal with all season. I'm sorry, but it's out of our hands. We can't control them. So you got to prepare for this. I'm just telling you, it's going to be frustrating. We're going to be here to help. And I sympathize with you and other people who find this, not you or anyone listening, who finds this frustrating. And I get that. And it makes fantasy football, in some ways, it did for me last year, a little bit less fun. And I understand that. And what I'm going to do is do my best to make sure that you put the best lineup out there for your fantasy team and that you win titles. Like I said, that's why I'm here. I want the people listening to this show to beat the people not listening to the show. And that's what I want. That's always going to be what I want. So we're going to do whatever it takes to get us there.
Corey is in a Dynasty 12-team Superflex tight end premium draft right now. Startup, round 5. Should he get Chris Carson, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, Zach Wilson, or Tua? Who's your favorite in this list, Tyler?
A quarterback. It's going to be a quarterback on this list, right? That's not a debate. I'll go with Zach Wilson.
I definitely agree. Although I like T. Higgins and Keenan Allen a lot, but Zach Wilson's easy choice.
To give the people an idea, I have Zach Wilson ranked 30th overall in this format, Superflex tight end premium. You don't get to T. Higgins and Amari Cooper. They're back-to-back at 57 and 58. So way lower. The quarterback is just and Carson and Allen are way further back. Both Wilson and Tua are above the others. And I would lean toward Wilson based on his camp. He looked better. He doesn't have a year of failure. Remember, Tua has failure. He has failure already. Once you have failure, he has 2 strikes. I hate this, but he has 2 strikes of lots of injury and then a lot of failure. So with 2 strikes, if he's not good this year, Deshaun Watson will be on a plane to Miami. And as much as people don't like to hear that, he will be on a plane in 2022. He will be there. So be careful with Tua, and especially with the Watson sword hanging over Tua. I'd go with Wilson over Tua relatively easily.
I don't know what the rest of Corey's team looks like, but he says Ayuk is also there. Let's say he went a lot of quarterback early.
Doesn't change my mind.
Ayuk, Higgins. You would still take Wilson in round 5 if he has 3 quarterbacks on his roster already.
Oh, he has 3 quarterbacks already. Then
I'm just saying, imagine.
But it's almost impossible with these quarterbacks available that he already drafted 3 quarterbacks. Tell us who you drafted already, though. Well, if you're still here, tell us who you drafted, and I'll pull it from the bottom of the chat because I know we're way behind. Tell us who you drafted. But unless you've already drafted 3, I wouldn't go a 4th quarterback. A 4th quarterback is too much for me. I would stop. But if this is my quarterback 3, I'm okay taking quarterback 3 in round 5 and then closing up shop at quarterback and taking value elsewhere. But that's actually a move I often make, is take my quarterback 3 in round 5 or 6, and then I don't take any more quarterbacks until maybe I take a late flyer on like a Jordan Love in round 11 or 12. But I don't go back to quarterback 4 until way later, maybe a Bridgewater in round 11.
Being the evacuated Calvin and Hobby, I may have missed something, but Mike is saying, how about Davis Mills getting the start in Houston? Is that a thing?
No, that's not a thing. And I think he's saying, what do you think about the possibility that is he? Okay, Corey answered it. I'll pull it up and close the book on this. Zach Wilson would be a QB3, and I like the move. I like the move to secure a QB3 and then move to other positions in round 6 and forward. So let's go back to that question.
Cool. Yeah, and so Davis Mills.
I don't think he's going to start. Tyrod Taylor is going to start, and Davis Mills. I've heard nothing positive. Have you?
Nothing positive.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Actually, you know what? I haven't even heard anything negative. I've just heard nothing. Like literally zero. That's not a good sign. That's a sign that he is not doing well. So. I mean, do I think they'll give him a start eventually when they're like 0-8? Probably. Am I interested in Davis Mills and Dynasty? Not really. No. I'd rather have Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond, I think, is the one of the 3 this year. There was Mond, Mills, and Trask. Mond is the one I think has the long-term path.
Has a rushing upside as well.
I'm less worried about that in a super flex though. In a super flex, I just want him to get a job. And I think Mond is the one who has the path that Mills, the Texans 22 starting quarterback is playing, I think, at North Carolina or Oklahoma right now.
Right. That's right. 100%. We talked about this earlier. I know that James White get a bump now that Mac is QB and Sony is gone.
I said yes, but minorly. I think I had him for White is irrelevant in Dynasty, but in redraft, I think I had him running back 56, and he's now running back 49. Oh, wait. JJ Taylor cannot be on any Dynasty waiver wires. Cannot be on waiver wires. He is a must add. Cannot be on your waiver wire. He needs to be added immediately.
Okay, JJ Taylor or Tony Jones?
Good question. There were back-to-back. I'm going to stick with my rankings and go with Tony Jones.
Yeah, I think I would do too. Ryan?
I agree. More upside
I would have JJ Taylor over like Tyson Williams, for example.
There you go. Deshaun Watson. Could be on the active roster.
This is like the weirdest thing. They're going to pay him $10 million to be a healthy scratch and take up a roster spot, I guess. I don't know. Okay.
Why isn't the commissioner stepping in on this? Yeah, I don't really know.
Honestly, we could do a whole show on that, but that's not this show. That's not this show. What matters, and that's my actual background from education. And that's my master's degree and would be that show. But that's not this show. And for this show, Deshaun Watson will play zero anything in 2021 at all. So that's what you need to know. He's not going to play.
What's the least you would sell him for right now?
Least? 2 firsts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 firsts. I'm not taking anything less, and I'll just hold on to him and wait. 2 firsts, I'll just clean my hands and get out. No one's paying that, though. So I'm saying he's a hold.
All right, let's go back here. 14-team Superflex League. Who's the number 6 pick in our rookie draft?
Okay.
So T-Law.
Well,
Fields.
Lawrence, Lance, and Fields will go 1 through 3. And then
you're probably going to have somebody jumping in and taking Harris.
Yep.
Maybe Pitts. So I guess the question there is, like, you got Zach Wilson, you've got Mac Jones now, you've got Jamar Chase.
People do not understand. They still don't understand this. And I try to explain this to them, but they don't get it. You don't get it until you do it. In a 14-team Superflex league, take everything I say about quarterbacks and 12-team and just ignore that. Ignore that. Imagine you're playing a completely different format, because you are. In a 14-team Superflex league, quarterback scarcity is extreme. The fact that you have to start or can start 28 quarterbacks instead of 24 changes everything. It changes everything. Quarterbacks would be my first 4 picks in this format. I would have Zach Wilson 4th. And then I would go to Najee, and if it's tight end premium, Pitts. If not, then I would go right to Mac Jones.
You would have 5 quarterbacks in your top 6, 7?
I would take Pitts if it were a tight end premium over Mac Jones. Otherwise, I'd take Mac Jones 6 with only Najee in there. Not even Chase.
What do you think, Ryan?
I mean, I could get behind that. Like you said, quarterback scarcity. Quarterbacks mean everything in these leagues. And even if, Chase and Najee and those guys will, probably score more points this year, you still need the quarterback.
Quarterbacks are death in a 14-team Superflex league. You cannot trade for them. It's not like I'm always the person who says, don't be afraid in a 12-team Superflex league. They say you can't trade for quarterbacks. They're wrong. You can. You always can. Not in a 14-team Superflex. Nobody's going to have extra quarterbacks to give you because you have to start 28. Where's the wiggle room? There's no wiggle room. There's no extra. None. Most people only have 2. No one can afford to trade you a quarterback, so you cannot acquire them. So in a 14-team Superflex league, you are going to build your team around the quarterback position. And that's why, we're going to make sure we get quarterbacks. So, if it's a heavy tight end premium, I would take Najee and Pitts above Mac Jones, but otherwise only Najee. I'd take Mac Jones at 6.
Jason says, I got to say, the show is getting better every week. Props to you two plus guests. Welcome back, Cal. Should I even share this show with my leagues? The best kept secret.
Share it with your leagues. Share it with your
leagues.
leagues.
Okay, a couple things. One, yes. Just share it to somebody. Maybe pick somebody in a different league. Share it on Twitter. If you do share it, it does help. It does help us, so we appreciate it. We appreciate you not wanting to share it, but we would really appreciate you sharing it. 2, look, I learn something from this show all the time. You guys in the chat are great. Tyler is obviously really good. Tyler watches this show back and learns something from himself all the time. Like, Tyler gets better at Dynasty because he listens to himself, which is great. It's true. And yeah, like I really like having this guest here. It'd be fun to be able to have people on. So Ryan, really appreciate you jumping in.
Really appreciate you having me.
TK says, guy in my league lost ETN, Akers, and Dobbins. Oh,
ooh.
Ouch. I have not yet seen an actual team with my own eyes where this is the case.
He sent out messages saying he's not interested in trading 4 running backs. He says his team is stacked. Does he overpay and try to grab one of the injured players?
Well, you started the question with, do I overpay? And the answer to that question is always no. We don't overpay, because when we overpay, that means that psychologically, we've given up a position of leverage and turned it into a position of weakness, right? That's what we've done. So we don't want to overpay. What we want to do is we want to get a deal. We want to get good value. We don't want to ever overpay. What I do is I do what the NFL teams do. I just say, oh, well, I'm just going to deal with it. I'm just going to deal with it or whatever. And I'm just not going to make the trade. I'm not going to do it until you give me what I want. And that's just what I say. And I don't overpay. I don't get desperate. And, I'm not above doing things like sending 100 offers, whatever it takes to get the price that I want. And I'll do anything like that, whatever it takes to win, before I ever overpay for anything.
Ryan, how do you rank these 3 running backs for Dynasty?
Ooh, I definitely put Dobbins at the top because of the injury, and then it's a toss-up between Etienne and Akers. I'll just go Akers just because he showed us that he had something already. But with that Achilles,
that's a good point. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I switched it. I used to have Etienne ahead, but I changed my mind. I Dobbins easily first, but I've actually gone to Akers at second and then Etienne last. I'm very concerned. I've heard in the last week have not made me feel good about Etienne's injury at all. So
me neither.
Yeah, that one I'm concerned, 100% concerned.
TK wants to know who's the RB to own in New York. Let's start with Dynasty. Easily Michael Carter, right?
Michael Carter, right? I mean,
Yeah.
What choice?
What do you think about Michael Carter in redraft, though?
I mean, not as good as I once did.
Ryan, what do you think about this backfield? Do you think there's anybody that's going to have? Are you ever this season at any point going to feel good about sticking a New York Jets running back in your lineup?
Oh gosh, no. It's one of those things where you just don't want to touch it at this point. I mean, it could be a total committee. There's so many guys there. I'd rather. What is Michael Carter's ADP, like round 8, round 9? I'd feel more comfortable taking one of those receivers there at that point in redraft on any other team.
Yeah. Yes. I do think Tevin Coleman is going to start, and he could get enough volume to be okay early on.
Nope. No.
Ed says none.
Tevin washed is not going to be it. He was the one. Somehow every other running back who plays in the Shanahan offense was successment. He's the one that failed. He's the one who failed. He had, you listen to 2020 and you tell me if you want this. He managed a miserable in 8 games, 28 carries for 53 yards and no touchdowns. And he caught 4 passes for 34 yards. You want that player on your team? Does that sound good? 28 carries for 53 yards? 53. By the way, everyone else on that same team, did you see Jeff Wilson run the ball well last year? Yes. What about when Raheem Mostert, when he was in the game? Did he do well? Yes.
Oh, he looks so good.
So good. And how did Tevin Coleman look? How does 28 carries for 53 yards sound to you? Not so good. Not good.
Not great.
Yeah, not good. And that was last year. Now he's a year old. There's going to be more time. This is Tevin Coleman and Malcolm Brown are very similar to me. It's that they're probably doing something that we don't see, but what we do see is not good. Not good. Ty Johnson is the sleeper I'm interested in, not Tevin Coleman.
Man, he just keeps hanging around too. He's one of those guys that he keeps getting opportunities.
He keeps getting 8th chances. And how many chances? Speaking of people who've had a lot of failure, how many chances has Ty Johnson had at this point?
Addison wants to know what my green screen is right now. Yeah, this is very super secret. You have to pay way extra. StreamYard like Premium Plus to get this.
You have to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, so that if anybody has any more questions, go ahead and get them in. But this might be a decent opportunity, Tyler, to just ask you like anything else that's been in fantasy before we if nobody has any more questions, we'll wrap the show up. But anything else that's going on in fantasy that you want to talk about?
So I talked about the start sit show that I'm going to do. We're going to bounce that between. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So we're going to bounce that between. It's just going to be me alone. I might have someone on there from time to time, but I'm not going to have a regular co-host. I don't mind going on there alone and just doing it. It'll be a quick show. It's going to be like 30 to 45 minutes. I'm just going to go in and out. I'm only going to take questions that come in live. If you have additional questions, I'll take them on Twitter. So I'll have that show. We'll bounce between Thursday to cover the Thursday night game, and also we'll do some on Sunday morning. Sunday morning is tough for everybody, so we'll do that when we can. So that's something that's coming up. We'll continue to have this show. Continue to do my articles, as always. Have my articles. And then I have Twitter. I have my Patreon. You're going to see me promote it tomorrow because the first of the month is the day that you get the good value on the Patreon. That's because, you get charged when you sign up. So signing up on the first of the month is the best value. And I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else, really. Yeah.
Kiki Cutie got cut today. I was sad about that.
Yeah.
I was sad about that. Probably good news for Nico Collins, yeah.
Yeah. It also means that Anthony Miller may potentially be relevant. Not really, but in some world eventually. I don't know.
Corey's still in his draft. Tua in the 6th, or does he move on?
So he's saying, should he take Tua in the 6th, as this would be a 4th quarterback, or move on to other positions? I think it's going to be time to move on. I think what this is telling me is that your league doesn't value the quarterback position. So I've gotten, I like to have 3 solid starters. So we've gotten that. We've done what I want if I were you, what I want for me, from my 3 starters. I have those. I don't want to just start taking quarterbacks just on the ability that the league mates might come around to the idea that quarterbacks are worth more eventually. That just sounds like a lot of galaxy brain unnecessary stuff. So we're not going to do that. So I would go to a different position. I would try to take some value. Who else? Well, you could ask me. I mean, who else is on the board? I can tell you. Who you might want to target in the 6th round potentially. But yeah. That is what I do on my Patreon. That's all I do. It's just that's what I always call it. It's literally the Tyler hand holding. Like that's what it is. I will hold your hand as you do the draft. I'll just tell you what to do, or we can talk about it or whatever you want. And that's what I do. So I have a lot of experience with the in draft hand holding. But yeah, just ask me and we can give you some advice on that, or just at me on Twitter. If you give me some time, I usually get back to you. If you just at me, I'll always see it. But sometimes if it's a live draft, I don't see it in time. But I'll try my best to answer.
At me too, just because that makes me feel better. I'm a little insecure and would like to see some ads of my name on there on Twitter.
Yeah. Kidding. The one thing I will say is if you at me with 20 other people, I'm not going to ever be the first one to answer. So I'm just going to mute it and move on. I get buried in notifications under those. So that's not a good way to get me to answer your question. Anything else is a good way. I have this whole show. But yeah, adding me with 20 other people, that one usually just does not get your question answered, unfortunately. Those I usually miss and move on and mute those. Unfortunately, I just can't get to those. But if you just at me, I will see it.
I'm going to pull these up. TK says the only fantasy football show I stop and listen to. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate that. And Ed, this is the only show I watch live every week.
Can I say something about that real quick?
Yes.
Look, I appreciate the people who watch the show. I appreciate the people who turn into the show, who subscribe to the YouTube channel, who like the video, all of those things that you're doing to support us. And we notice that and we appreciate it. And it means a lot to us that there are people who enjoy this show, people who want to tune in, and most of all, people who feel like this show has helped them, get an edge in their leagues, because that's what we want to provide. We want to provide a fun show, but we want to help you win. I always say that's always, I want to provide, those are always my 2 things. I want to provide something fun for people to watch and help them win their fantasy leagues, dynasty leagues, and all of that. So if we're providing those 2 things, then I'm very happy with how this is going. And I really appreciate, without you in the chat, this isn't that show. I mean, it's not that the chat makes the show. So without you guys, the show isn't, the amazing show that it is. So we thank you for that. And we thank everyone for contributing their questions to the chat. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciate all of you.
And let me add this too, because just to be honest, and TK, Ed, a lot of you guys who have been consistently here in the chat, really appreciate that. A few people reached out to me on Twitter, sent me some direct messages, just excited about the show tonight. And I got to be honest, this is really, really, really tough to pull this off tonight. I'm relocated. I don't have my live stream stuff. Like you saw, in the mid show, I had to relocate to a new place. This is like a public like lobby, like somebody could just walk in here and hang out like at any point. But I wanted to do this because I was really excited to hang out with you guys, was excited to hang out with everybody in the chat, and just genuinely like I look forward to this. But I also, it's not just like, hey, a cool hangout. I think this show literally is, you can get an edge in your league by listening to this show. And that's what so many of the comments are saying. And again, I feel like I gain from it every time I watch it, participate, listen to it as well.
You almost made me cry.
So, Daniel Dokes, no, yeah, we talked about Dokes.
Favorite. Dokes and Newsom. Those were the cuts that kind of hit me. Dokes and Newsom, because those were the sleepers I was really in. JV and Hawkins too, but that happened already. Dokes and Newsom, those were the ones where I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
That made me sad. A little bit. Those were the big two that really just kind of hit me. And I was like, oh, I recommended people pick them up so many times, and like, it didn't work out. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Really cool. So Skip says 11th pick and redraft. What route would you go? That's a good question.
I need a little bit more. Can we get a little bit more detail on that? 11 pick in, is it a 1 QB PPR? Because that's what I assume.
Most of what's probably drafting right now is that, right? Like it seems like we're
probably
also in a dynasty show. Most of the questions end up being PPR, and most redraft is still 1 QB. So, okay, so for me, at the start of drafts and a redraft, and I've done good segue. Like I said, the start sit is coming. I don't do written redraft content, but on Twitter, I split during the season. You'll see me about 50-50 between dynasty and redraft, splitting my content. So you'll see me do both. In this case, I would start with McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Henry, and Barkley. I assume none of them will be there. I assume they won't be there.
No. Well, you know what? You say that, but from the 11th pick, I got Barkley in the second round.
Oh, wow.
I did a Patreon draft recently where I was doing it for them, and I picked Barkley at 109. So it is possible for him to get there. 111 is a little optimistic. I mean, I found that I like my team in redraft and the mocks and a little bit that I've done when I get a stud tight end. So if Travis Kelce makes it to 11, unless Barkley makes it, I would rather have Barkley. But if Barkley doesn't make it and Kelce does, Kelce would be my first choice among the players that I think get there often. I'd also be happy with a Chubb, a Zeke, or a Taylor at that point.
What about Aaron Jones?
In
redraft.
Aaron Jones, not sure that I would, if I had to choose between Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, I might go with Devontae Adams in a redraft. Okay. Even in a redraft, I might go with Devontae Adams just because I'm not as confident in Aaron Jones.
Ryan, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with Tyler if he's there, Travis Kelce, because where you're drafting from the 11th spot, you won't have an opportunity to pick Darren Waller or George Kittle in the third, especially on ESPN. They're usually gone by the mid-third, usually. But yeah, either that or Saquon Barkley. I 20% agree.
Say that they were available in the third in the draft that I recently did. So it is possible. It is possible that it has happened. It happened to me very recently, so it could happen. Just so you know. But
I mean, it doesn't happen to me because I'm the one drafting him. So
yeah,
right.
I think the really interesting thing is if Kelce, Chubb, Zeke, Taylor, and Adams are all gone, and then you have to choose. I guess it's Aaron Jones at that point.
Yeah,
Aaron Jones would be my 11th.
In redraft, I think he's as solid as, I mean, as good a bet as anybody to be a top 6 to 8 running back this year.
Well, so in redraft, I do tiers for redraft, and I don't publish these, and I do them for my benefit and help me make Twitter content. But I have a tier, of the guys I mentioned, Cook, Kamara, Henry, Barkley. That's a tier. McCaffrey's by himself, and a tier way above everyone else. But then I have like a little mini tier of Chubb, Zeke, and Taylor. And Aaron Jones comes in at 9, starting the next tier. I have Devontae Adams at receiver and a tier alone at wide receiver 1 in redraft. So that's why I would take Adams and certainly Kelsey over Jones, but that's only 10 players. Adams, Kelsey, and 8 running backs I have ahead of Jones. So if it comes to that, Jones would be my 11th choice.
Very good. I just looked up the average draft position on Fantasy Pros. At 11, looks like Jonathan Taylor would be number 11 right now. Wow. And then Stephon Diggs is 14, which would be...
that feels like a reach. Maybe, actually, no, it's not a reach.
Let's see. He charged our PPR redraft league where you don't have to start a tight end. They're grouped in with wide receiver. Where it does, and I think his question didn't quite make it through here. So finish your question here, Trogdor. What about Chris Evans time? Do we like Captain America, Ryan?
Oh, yeah, Ryan. Love Captain America, but as for Chris Evans, he's going to supplant himself as the backup running back to Joe Mixon. I mean, who else is there? Samaje Perine? I think Chris Evans can easily overtake him. And
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's those 3 are the ones they kept.
He looks good.
And Evans and Perine.
Especially in the receiving game. Some of those catches in camp were standing out.
There's a lot of positive buzz about Chris Evans.
You love to see it.
Just saying.
Yes, TK, I am for the people. But really, there's been a lot of people reaching out, and they were like, oh, can't wait for the show tonight. And I was like, I've got to do whatever it takes to make sure I get on here.
Nobody messages me telling me they're excited for the show. That's because I turn my DMs.
Keep it that way. Let's keep it that way.
I turn my DMs off. That's why.
Yeah, he does finish his question. He wants to know where Travis Kelce is falling in the wide receiver ranking.
This is like kind of an off the top of my head answer, but just given how I tier my wide receivers, I think I'd rather have Adams, and that might be it. I mean, right? I mean, where does Kelce actually rank? Given his, what do you have?
I think I'd rather have Hill. I'd rather have Hill.
Would you?
There's an argument for that.
Who did better last year? I mean, that's easy to compare, right? They were on the same team.
It is.
So last year, Kelce had more targets, more receptions, more yards, but Hill had 4 more touchdowns. I'm pretty sure from these numbers that Kelce outscored him. He had 18 more receptions and 140 more yards, but only 4 less touchdowns. So pretty sure Kelce outscored him. So, and I have Hill at wide receiver too. So I think I would have Kelce at wide receiver too.
17 touchdowns last year for Tyreek Hill.
Oh, I forgot his rushing. He had rushing touchdowns?
No, maybe. Did he?
He had rushing too. Okay, with the rushing, then Hill outscored him. So
Tyreek Hill was so good.
Yeah, it's close. Hill, Kelce would be, I mean, I have Diggs at 3. And then Nuke at 4 and Ridley at 5 would be below him. So it's 2, 3, or 4. He's in that. I have a tier of 4 after Adams. Hill, Diggs, Nuke, and Ridley. He's in that tier. 6 at the absolute worst then.
I get behind that.
Jason said he got scared of early tight ends when he finally took Gronk around pick number 11 one year. Then he tanked and got injured. But this year, I've come all the way back snatching Waller a few times. That's the other one that is going to get a wide receiver workload.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of redraft, but if you can get Waller or Kittle is the value. Kittle, for some reason, Kittle is now like a whole round behind Waller. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. I've had Kittle above Waller the whole time, and I haven't changed my mind.
I've had I would take Waller.
I'd take Kittle.
Waller's in an offense that's going to pass the ball more.
I just don't care. I think people don't.
He's a more sure bet, I think, for higher targets.
I'm not sure about that.
He's very good. I mean, like you're splitting hairs, right? I mean, I think Kittle is good too.
People are scared by injury concerns that are with Kittle. They're overblown. Kittle,
you think?
Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, are we fading Christian McCaffrey?
Well, it's 2 years now with Kittle.
Is it? I mean, in his first 3 seasons, Kittle played 45 of 48 games. That's not injury. Like, he's played more games in his career than McCaffrey.
I'm trying to remember the.
No, I'm just saying.
He played 14 games in 2019, so it's more than I remembered him playing. I just looked
So, Christian McCaffrey only played 3 games last year, so it came into the league the same year. He's only played 51 games total out of possible 64, whereas Kittle's played 53. So I'm not fading Kittle because of injury concerns. I don't find Kittle injury prone.
But fading him doesn't mean, but putting Waller ahead of him doesn't mean fading him.
People don't remember. People don't remember how good Kittle is. They just don't. They don't remember.
You can think he's really good and still think Waller is really good too.
It's only tight end 3.
I don't think that those players are in the same talent universe. I just don't. I think Kittle is far
more talented. You think Kittle's way more talented than Waller?
Darren Waller, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I've said this multiple times. I do. I think that Kittle is, I don't know. I think Kittle is one of the better tight ends I've seen in recent years. Waller, I like him, but I don't think he's on the same level. Personally, I just don't. I think that Kittle is just better. If you want to fade him for the injury, fine.
Speaking of Waller, John Brown got released today.
Doesn't matter.
For Waller,
that matters for Bryan Edwards.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what do we think about him being released? Does it change anything? Like,
oh yes, it does. Oh yes, it does.
Talk about it.
Oh, it does. Oh, I've been saying Bryan Edwards for a long time, and I will put. I love it when I have because I'm not a big I don't tweet in order to take a victory lap. I just tweet whenever I'm kind of thinking. I'm not the person who tweets based on a victory lap because I don't go back and look at what I tweeted later. Some people do that, but it's just not me. But in this case, stated, published. Just put it in the chat. So it says, if you can go read it, there's 1,500 words on why I think Bryan Edwards is going to make a big leap that's dated July 31st. So a long time ago, I was saying that this was going to happen. So it's there. I wrote it. And you better believe that I stand by and feel more strongly now about everything I said in that article. I think that Bryan Edwards is going to make a massive impact this year. I really do. And I do think so. And
what do you think, Ryan?
I agree. I agree with Tyler here. I'm in. I'm all in. I mean, you should see my underdog stuff. I'll show you after the show, but you'll see. God. You'll see where Bryan Edwards is on that list. It's very high.
What's your percentage?
Oh, I gotta check. I know it's in the 30s.
All right, go check on that. I want to know. But if the people are interested, this is a good comment from Ed. Actually, now I'm gonna put it up. That is a good point. That means he didn't need to play any snaps this preseason.
Did he not need to play any?
Well, let's go over what happened with John Brown, right? Because it's not like John Brown was cut necessarily. He asked to be released. Now, why do you ask to be released? Why? As a veteran, why do you ask to be released? Because
I don't know.
The team has no role for you. The team has no role for you is why you asked to be released. So he wants to go somewhere where there's like New Orleans, where he might have a potential playing time instead of somewhere where he's going to sit on the bench, which is what he would do here. So also Hunter Renfrow had a very solid camp. So there was no chance that Brown was going to take his spot somehow. So yeah, there was no role for John Brown. None. So he asked for his release. And that means that Bryan Edwards must have looked so good in camp that they were comfortable granting that request.
He got great reviews in camp last year. People were very excited about him. He got great reviews in camp this year. People were very excited about him. He didn't need to take a single snap. Like, I totally disagree. Like, he played 12 games last year and got 15 targets.
I don't care.
You have a word for that you use very often, Tyler.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong because he was injured that entire time.
I just told you a
broken
fact.
foot.
He was injured that entire time. Look, the people cannot listen to me, and they'll come back week 1. We'll be doing this show after Bryan Edwards looked great, and they'll be upset that they didn't listen. So I suggest that they listen. It's too late now, though. It's too late. I've been saying this for a month. To buy. I think it is now with John Brown gone. I think it's too late because I think his price is now going to be very, very high.
I think it was.
Like, he had a worse rookie year than Rager did.
I don't care because Rager. The problem with Rager is his reception perception was so bad, whereas Bryan Edwards was injured. We know that Bryan Edwards was injured. Rager played multiple games.
He played 12 games.
Yes, but
he was out there
for all of those games. He was injured for all of those games. He started week 1 as a rookie. I say this every time. He started week 1 as a rookie. So you don't usually start as a 3rd-round pick. You don't start week 1 unless you were really good. He was really good.
He got 1 target in that start.
That's not okay, but it was his first
47 snaps.
You're just not right here. You're just not right. Like I know that I'm right.
I know Twitter hates it. I know he's Twitter's darling, and we can't say anything. We can't besmirch the name of Bryan Edwards.
So this is one of those things. Don't take my word for it here. Don't take my word for it. Go. There's 1,500 words. I put it in the chat. There's 1,500 words you can read. You can read about why I believe. And, I'm very confident in this prediction. And now I'm just triple confident after John Brown was released. So I'm very confident. And I'm very close to making the ranking swap that I wanted to make a month ago and putting Bryan Edwards ahead of Henry Ruggs in all formats. If we keep seeing what I'm seeing, you're going to see that adjustment being made very soon.
I've been there on that one. I think it was too late the moment John Gruden said Randy Moss in the same sentence. It was too late at that moment.
No, but this release of John Brown, you have to understand, Ryan, you have to understand that.
Oh, it's the latter.
Right, but you have to understand that not everyone is us. Some people, we and people listening to this show should listen to this too. That not everyone in your leagues is in the Twitter bubble that we're in and we talk about on this show where all the information, we're talking about it, we know all of it. Some people are like, I have no idea. No, I'm here. Season. I've returned to the Dynasty League. I'm now here, ready to pay attention. Oh, John Brown was released today. Now that I understand. I understand that. So that's how some people are. So this is the moment I think that's going to make it for the wider audience that Bryan Edwards is now a thing. I think this is what it took. I don't think it was really. It was widely known on Twitter, but not in the general community up until this point. I continued to field questions, by the way, from my Patreon. I said it's a lot of hand holding. They were like, "Why do you believe in Bryan Edwards? Why? I don't agree with you. Why? Tell me why. Why do you believe he's going to break out?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, the college profile is there. He started as a rookie. Blah blah blah. The same things I'm telling you. The article's there. Go read it." And now so it's just good. I'm just telling you that it wasn't everybody. Now it will be, but it wasn't before.
I do have to add about the underdog thing. My first draft I did for Best Ball Mania was a while ago. 183 at the ADP. Like, what a steal that is.
Yeah, that's way too low. That's going to be a big problem.
And I
less than a reception per game last year. I don't care. Why didn't we see him in preseason? Why didn't we give the chance to see him? Why?
Oh, that's a great thing because they felt. I do not want to see anybody in the preseason. I want it. To me, this is something I very strongly believe. If you sit out in the preseason, you move up my rankings. If you sit out, you don't have to play. That's good. Javonte Williams. They didn't need to play him in the 3rd preseason game. He wasn't injured. They just didn't need to play him. That moved him up my rankings because they're confident. They don't need to see it. So for me, I don't want any players to play in the preseason. When players are held out because they're healthy and they're just like, oh, we're comfortable with that guy moves up my rankings because of that. So that's what I completely disagree. I don't want to see players play in the preseason. I want to see them not play.
I agree with that. I have the numbers up. I have to bring that back out. I told you where I was drafting them like that late. 34% on Brian
A
Edwards.
lot.
My
How many
second,
teams are in an underdog? 12?
I have 12. Yeah.
Oh, so 34% is a lot, considering you should have like 8 and 9% of any player then.
Yeah, you should see my percentages. We're not going to talk about that, but second highest for exposure to Brian Edwards. So
you've been in on Edwards too.
I've been on the hype train. Paris Campbell's the only one I have above him. So.
Oh yeah, no, not that one. Not
we'll argue about that later.
That one, not so good. That one, that we were doing well, but then we went to Paris Campbell. It was less good. That one, I'm good. I'm good on that one. Mike Strachan? How do you pronounce that? Strachan?
I think so.
That's someone I'm interested in on the Colts. That's a very interesting sleeper. But Campbell, no. Campbell, I'm good. No, thank you.
232 snaps.
I don't care. You're telling me
125 routes.
No, but I hear you. But he was injured.
15 targets.
He was injured. When he was healthy, he got the snap share. In the first game, the only game he played, he was healthy. He played one game where he was healthy. He got the snap share, and then he wasn't healthy.
Yeah, he had almost 50 snaps and 1 target. What's going to change? Why is it different?
I think that
you don't want to see it on the field first. You're just sold. You don't need to see any of it.
It'll be too late. Sometimes you can't wait for that. You can't wait because if you don't make the move now, you won't be able to make it at a reasonable price. If you believe,
I don't think he's a reasonable price right now. I think people are acting like he's already done something.
Now I agree with you. Now it's too late. You should have listened to me before when I've been begging people. But we've had this argument many times. I've been begging people to do this for a month. I've been begging people to do this. Now it's too late. I agree with you. It's too late. But I've been begging people to do it. So, I hope they listen, because if you really don't believe, now you can sell for a profit anyway, and then you never have to see it.
That's a good point.
It's just my take on that.
Daniel says Watson for Zach Wilson and KJ Hamler.
No. We're not adding to Zach Wilson to take Watson. We're not going to do that. So we're going to take Zach Wilson and we're just going to move on. I really like what Zach Wilson is doing. Watson, I just don't want to be there. I feel like you guys agree mostly with that from what I've talked about it with you guys.
I have Watson in one league that drafted before any of the news started coming out, and I would absolutely take this in a heartbeat.
So you would take it.
I can't get anything close to this right now.
No,
Nothing close.
I agree with you. And you heard what my price was for an existing Watson share. The 2 firsts, and that you're not getting that either.
Corey's still in his draft, round 6. 2 is there. Ayuk, T. Higgins, Amari Cooper, Tyler Higbee. No, that's the one you can definitely leave out.
that one doesn't. Higbee doesn't seem to make sense.
One of these is not like the other.
Yeah, that one. How about T. Higgins? That one. I like T. Higgins. I think that T. Higgins is very underrated. T. Higgins, I like what he's doing. He looks excellent. I'm in on Higgins.
I am too. I have to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask, this is a tight end premium league with Higbee being the best tight end in the 6th round.
Must be a start 2 tight end league.
It got to be something with the format.
Well,
I think he did say earlier that it was a tight end premium league.
Well, unless it's 20 tight end premium, I don't see why. I heard someone say that like Tyler Higbee has like top 5 upside. And I'm like, okay, sure. Whatever.
0-0. Yeah, it is tight end premium.
Like,
I'm out on Higbee. I got to be honest with you. Go back and listen to podcast Dynasty Junkies. You're familiar with Dynasty Junkies?
I listened to Dynasty Junkies.
They had Andrew Cooper on last week, and he talked about tight ends. And he's the guy that knows a thing or two about tight ends. Talks about tight ends a lot. And he was talking about Higbee and how Everett leaving basically was going to do nothing for him. Now, Andrew was trying to make the other point. Andrew was trying to sell him a little bit, Andrew Hall. yeah, I don't know. It was the most convincing anti-Higbee argument that I've heard.
I mean, I feel like my argument against Higbee has always been the same. 4.5 years of failure and 5 good games is not a player that we want. When we have 4.5 years of failure and 5 good games, I think the 4.5 years is the reality, especially when one of those years came after they gave him a big money extension. After they gave him all of that money was 2020, and he still didn't do anything. I'm good.
Tight end flew off the board. Corey, this is where if tight ends are just flying off the board in a tight end premium, then you're too late. Like, you're going to have to just wait at this point.
Hunt the position and take Jacob Harris. How about that?
Yeah, you're going to need to like late grab. Who are some good late round? Obviously Jacob Harris, but you're not starting Jacob Harris week 1. Who are some late round guys he can look to grab?
How late?
I wouldn't mind grabbing Logan Thomas soonish if he's still there.
Think that's late.
No, I'm saying soonish. Like, if he's still around, that would be a guy I'd be interested in.
Also, Corey, I put my Patreon in the chat. If you don't have to sign up, but wait till tomorrow. But if you want, I will fix this for you.
Let's see. I'm looking at tight end. Jonnu Smith is still going pretty late. I mean, obviously that's the guy.
Smith now with, I gave it to Hunter Henry recently. Mr. Pedestrian, Mr. Boring. He's looked horrible at camp, horrible. So Jonnu Smith, I'm much more interested now. He's looked good, and with Mac Jones in the lineup, I'm more interested. So Jonnu Smith could be someone I'm interested. I would have said Irv Smith, but he with the injury, no. Tunyon? You hate Tunyon, but I'm in. So Tunyon could be someone for me. No. Corey, no. We're not taking a tight end in the 6th round. We're not taking Logan Thomas in the 6th round. We're talking about later. We're not taking Logan Thomas over T. Higgins. We're not doing that. We're not doing. We're gonna. Given that T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk are still there, you probably have like 3 rounds before you're taking Logan Thomas.
But I agree with Ed that Logan Thomas was top 3. In fact, I've got Logan Thomas as my number 5 tight end.
You have him too high, but like I think I have him ranked with most people, and I'm confident. Actually, I like my ranking. I actually have good reasons for my ranking of Logan Thomas. I do. I rank him 8. I do. I think 8. I think 8 is good because I don't really think he has high end upside, but I think he's going to have volume. So I think an 8 tight end 8 ranking is sensible. I've come around on ranking Thomas over guys like Fant and Goddard, where I just don't see a good upside for those players. But I prefer actually talented players like TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, etc.
Definitely agree on that one. I'm surprised that Logan Thomas is there over or Tyler Higbee. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Usually Logan Thomas goes before Tyler Higbee. So
yeah,
should. Yeah, he should go before Tyler Higbee in Dynasty and redraft.
Totally agree.
In redraft, I have Tyler Higbee ranked at tight end 15. So not interesting.
All right. So Gerald Everett's a good one. I was going to mention him. I was going to bring him up.
There you go. Talk about him.
I mean, like we said earlier, I think it's when you were gone. He can be the 3rd option in the passing game. Russ is probably going to cook for a couple of games. He's going to get a couple of targets. I like him, but not like top 12. He'd be like 13, 14, 15.
Cole Kmet is a good sleeper, but that's more of a dynasty play. I think you're waiting another. I don't think you're going to be starting Cole Kmet this year. I think you're waiting.
Save your last pick and put it on Jordan Akins.
No, and no Jordan Akins. That is
he's going to have a good year.
No, just ignore that one. That one is just okay. Jordan Akins is not going to have a good year. That is a ridiculous thing that you say every week. Don't waste your time. Take Tyler Kroft instead. If you're going to take someone, take Tyler Kroft. Don't waste your time on Jordan Akins.
Or Dan Arnold. I could see Dan Arnold a little bit.
That one I like a little bit better. But Dan Arnold is fine. Tyler Kroft is fine. But Jordan Akins, no.
I'm not a fan of Gerald Everett. Did you say you were, Tyler?
I think that we have where you're not a fan, I'm whatever, and Ryan is a fan. So I'm the whatever on Gerald Everett.
The more I looked into him, the less I liked him.
He's whatever to me. I mean, I'm like, okay, whatever. He's a whatever player.
Well, to be fair, where I have him ranked at like, tight end 13, tight end 12, is still for that position kind of a whatever,
That's not a whatever. That's way too high. I'm not interested at all. Gerald Everett at tight end 12 or tight end 13. I'm very much good. No, thank you. I have Gerald Everett at tight end 18.
Cole Kmet is going too low in redraft. 23.
Yeah, I got him at 17. So I agree with you on that one.
Let's see. Corey says T. Higgins over Bobby Woods, Amari Cooper, and Kareem Hunt. Yes.
Oh, yes. Amari Cooper.
Wait, Corey, this is Dynasty, right?
Yeah, but Amari Cooper's not old.
No. But
Amari Cooper and T. Higgins are close. Way over, but T. Higgins way over Woods or Hunt.
Diving back into that late tight end, I just want to ask if it's super late, would you be okay doubling up on Dallas tight ends to make sure you get the starter?
No, because I think they're both going to be useless.
Fair enough. I just wanted to bring it up.
Jordan Akins.
I would not rather have Jordan Akins because if one of the Dallas guys gets injured, the other one is going to be useless or useful, and Jordan Akins is going to be useless no matter what. But no, I'm not investing 2 picks into the Dallas tight end situation. I'm only taking Dalton Schultz 50 picks later and just ignoring Blake Jarwin completely.
See, I did do that, so that's how I was at. I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, I'm just taking. I don't think they're that different, and I'm going to take the far cheaper guy. Like I think that Dalton Schultz in Dynasty is going about 20 picks too late, and Blake Jarwin's going about 20 picks too early. So I'm going to take the value with Schultz. Ignore Jarwin.
I think at this point I'm thinking about so yes, they're close. If I had to do a tiebreak on T. Higgins and Cooper right now, it's which one has a better chance of increasing their ADP between now and next year?
T. Higgins has a
Higgins, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's more potential profit mixed in there.
It's hard though. How much higher is Higgins going to be? I like Higgins. Amari Cooper's not going to increase his ADP. The one thing I worry about with T. Higgins is what if Chase is really the heavy one and Higgins is just a total beta, and then I think because he could lose a lot of value if that's the scenario that plays out. It's not what I'm predicting, but I do think Higgins has downside. Amari Cooper is definitely better if you want to try to win. I mean, sure.
I mean, I don't mind either side. I like Higgins more though.
I think those are the 2 players though, clearly, not Woods or Hunt.
Oh, for sure.
Hunt I'm just done with. I'm not interested in Hunt.
Higgins 10th in the NFL last year in deep targets. I love that he's that deep play guy. He's gonna. I think he still maintains that role.
I mean, especially with Chase's struggles. I mean, I'm not putting too much stock in the Chase struggles, but T. Higgins could get off to a hot start.
I agree. I like Higgins. I just Amari Cooper is pretty proven and not that old, so I'm not totally out on
one of those guys that's 25 that feels like he's like 29, 30.
He's 27.
Well, yeah, I'm in between. I'm wrong.
What is it? June 18th, 1994. Amari Cooper.
I don't know.
June 18th, 1994. I think. Could be wrong. I don't know. It's been a long time. I'm not as with it as I used to be.
Tyler, who's the best wide receiver on the Broncos this year?
Oh, come on. It's Jerry Jeudy. It's been Jerry Jeudy the whole time. We know this. Sutton looked better than I expected, though. In the preseason, he remember, I was always saying he needed the football part, but he didn't have that part. Now he did have that part. He did participate. So I actually made some rankings changes on the Broncos. I think Jerry Jeudy's the one no matter what. But it's Teddy Bridgewater. I think there's a limit. So Courtland Sutton moved up. That means someone had to go down. And it was Noah Fant. Noah Fant went down because he's not healthy. So, again, not healthy. it's someone else, always injured, always a problem. So I don't know about him. So he moved down as Sutton moved up. Judy, I didn't move. And Judy's the one there.
He says Ayuk is there too.
Another consideration, but he has a hamstring injury right now. So if you're choosing between young players, that makes it easy for me to go with Higgins.
Okay. Ryan, you joined us. We really appreciate it. You filled in well. Okay. Actually, we got another question coming in here, but we're going to wrap it up here in just a second. As a non-contender, what are players or types of guys you look to move a 2022 first for? The answer for me is nothing. If I'm a non-contender, there is nothing you can trade for that can't lose value. 2022 first is only going to gain value. Those picks are the safest investment you can make. You know for sure they're going to go up. Any player you get, the value can go down. What do you think, Tyler?
This is a personal question. I know what he's talking about. And we've been trying to do some trades together. And in this case, I would stick with what Cal said, is that generally in a rebuild, you don't want to trade first round picks because their value is going to increase, just like Cal said. I completely agree. And yeah, typically I look to build around next year's firsts when I'm doing a rebuild. And I would like to, build around next year's firsts, wide receivers, a young tight end like Pitts would be fine, and quarterbacks and super flex. I don't want any running backs, and I don't want maybe Javonte Williams is like one of the only ones, a 21-year-old rookie who's just starting out. He's like one of the only running backs I'd be okay with on a rebuild. And then tight ends, other than Kyle Pitts, I just don't want them.
Okay, let's assume. Well, okay, I think is it super flex or not?
It is.
Okay, that changes the question then. If it wasn't super flex, I was going to ask you what you thought about trying to trade a 2022 first for Jamar Chase. If whoever has him is starting to sour on him.
Oh, I mean, in a 1 QB, I'm much more likely to try something like that. In a super flex, I wouldn't do that in super flex. In a super flex, I like to rebuild around picks because you can get quarterbacks in the draft so easily, and it's hard to get them in trades. It's not impossible, but it's so easy to get them in the draft. You just click the button. So in a super flex, I'm much more likely to build through the draft and just not trade these picks. In a 1 QB, sometimes you have to do other rebuilding strategies because it's not as easy without that fourth position to trade, because really quarterbacks are untradeable. So in a 1 QB, I would consider trying to do something like that with Jamar Chase. But even so, it's not really my first choice. And I don't want to trade my own first in a rebuild. Like Ed said, you pull that comment up. That Ed makes a good point. He makes a good point. Yeah, if you're your own pick in a rebuild, you're trying to lose. So probably don't want to trade that. So I don't really want to trade my own first in a rebuild.
And there's something too, if you're rebuilding, like you want points off your roster anyway, right?
Correct.
Like you don't want to trade for somebody that's going to get you points.
Correct. That's why I always say in a rebuild that I need, like, to take on a player for picks, I turned down an offer in a rebuild of my own in Trade Addicts 8. I was offered in Superflex, I was offered Godwin for a 2023 first and a 2022 second. Now on the balance, Godwin is probably worth more than that. Even in Superflex, 2023 first is a while from now. 2022 second I think was late up from the best team in the league. And I still turned the offer down because in a rebuild, I need probably like a 50% value win to trade any picks away, which usually does not happen.
Let's wrap it up there. I think that's a good place to end the show. We're coming up on 3 hours. Ryan, thank you.
Additional questions, just at me on Twitter, and I'll always get to you.
Yeah, Corey, find us on Twitter. I'm just at Calvin and Hobby. He's at DLF_carp. Ryan is at RyanPros_FF. And dude, 3 hour show. You made it. You did it. You did great. Where can we find your work?
Yeah, plug your work one last time.
Well, you can obviously find my tweets at RyanPros_FF, like you just said. I write for the Dynasty Vipers with Cal. and then I do the podcast now on Sundays. You said Sundays are a bad day to move it to, but you know the situation there, Tyler.
Yeah.
So we moved our fantasy newsroom pod to Sunday mornings. Me, Spencer, and Matt. We're gonna do 10 to 11 a.m. before the games. I think that's what we agreed upon. So we're gonna do that, and you can find that at the fantasy newsroom. And that's what I got for my content.
I was on that show, by the way.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, what was it last week?
Yeah, I was on that show. I had a great time.
I was on that show, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're both on that show.
Yeah, you were on that show too. Ryan and I did the episode alone, though. It was just me and Ryan on that show.
All right.
Fun stuff.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you for putting up with my audio issues and all that stuff here. Hopefully it'll be better next week. If it's better next week, that means I'm back in my house. I have my whole setup and power's on, water's on. That would be so great. Let's hope for that. If so, it's week 1 and we're going to be setting lineups. There's going to be so much to talk about. Do not miss this show. Make sure you tune in. Tyler, last word.
I love all of you. Thank you for listening. And just remember how much you all mean to me.
Goodbye. Thank you for tuning in.